Hey guys, Yadahard1995 here. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day and wonderful evening. This video is going to be Banlist predictions. We love a little bit of wish list predictions, but I am not doing it by myself today, guys. I am doing it with a couple friends of mine that go to locals with me and also practice with me. So let's go through the list and introduce themselves. So we're going to go through our first person here. Good old Billy. Can you introduce yourself, sir?
I play plants and runic sometimes. That's about it.
And next one is, well, you guys have already seen his deck profile. He goes by the legend, but his name's James Moore. He's here too. Say hello, James.
Howdy.
And then more experience. Well, not a veteran, but he recently got his first invite. Give it up for Robbie. How's it going, Robbie?
Hey, Grave is the best deck.
And then our last, and he actually topped the last Oceans with his branded Supreme deck that James cooked up for him. We've got our prodigy, Joseph.
Yo, that's me.
Alright guys, so we're going to talk about some Banlist cards. So we're going to go into it. So we're going to talk about, obviously, the biggest problem here is the fire deck, right? Let's quickly talk about all the fire cards. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to quickly talk about Snake Eyes, Diabel, Princess, because we kind of already know what should be here and what shouldn't be here, but it's good to have a little prediction, especially with a little discussion of us. So I'll go through the list. Alright, so this is Snake Eye Ash. As we all know, it does so much. In my opinion, it should be limited. What do you think, Billy?
Yeah, I'll take a limit or a ban. I don't think they'll ban it, but I'll definitely concede for limited and like another hit.
What about you, James?
One for consistency, but like there is a world where like just leave it at 3. It's like 1 or 3.
What about you, Robbie?
I agree with James. Like, if you put it to 1, it hits the consistency, but I can see them hitting around that card to hurt the deck more.
And what about you, Joey?
Cards should be banned, but it's probably going to get limited, most likely. I think that's the most reasonable hit.
Alright guys, so from, I guess, majority and all our discussion, we are going to put this card at 1. In my honest opinion, this is just my quick opinion here, I think the card does too much for what it does. It enables the whole Snake Eyes combo with poplar, and I don't think they're going to hit poplar. Speaking about poplar, I know I'm skipping 2 cards here, but what about you guys? What do you think of poplar? Well, let's go with Billy.
I mean, I accept 1 as a consolation prize. I think the card is cheap now, so they might ban it, because just First to Nightmare is like a pretty bad set. So that's what I'm hoping for, but for already hitting Ash, my preferred like alternate hit is Flamberge, I think at this point.
What about you, James?
Yeah, I think leave little poplar. It's in the art of upcoming cards. Like I don't think it definitely added so much power to the deck, but I definitely think it's, when you look at all the cards that are being played in the deck, it's like just leaving it is where it is. It's just fine where it is.
What about you, Robbie?
I don't think it needs to be touched at all. Like, you hit Ash and then the deck's just fair. Like, yeah, Poplar doesn't do anything for them. Like, getting hit.
What about you, Joey?
Poplar's not getting touched.
Alright.
No way.
In my honest opinion too, guys, don't need to hit it. Card does. Like, it just recently came out, and also, it's not the, in my opinion, it's not the problem. Like, the problem is, I feel like Snake Eye Ash just needs to be less consistent here. Let's talk about Diabel, guys. So, Billy, let's go with you.
It's the poster girl for the new archetype, and it should be hit, or some part of the diabelstar engine should be hit, but they're not going to hit the girl. Like, it'll probably be 1-to-1 like everybody thinks, right?
What about you, James?
Yeah, I'm of the exact same opinion. If there is a hit in the Diabel engine, like, yes, I know Diabel and Snake Eyes is like one, like, it's a stem of the same engine, but like, there is so much more Diabel support to like happen that I don't think it's time for her to get hit, and she is definitely like the main focus of the story for the characters. It's like they're not going. It's like they weren't going to hit Visa Starfrost. They weren't going to hit Albaz. They're going to hit cards around them. So she's definitely staying. It's just going to happen.
What about you, Arby?
Yeah, I think either her or Wanted gets hit to 1, but not both. They'll pick one or the other. But waifu card gets waifu tax, so she'll probably stay at 3.
What about you, Joseph?
I don't really see a reason for them to touch diabelstar. Like, as James said, it's just main character energy. They're not going to touch her, but it's... The main problem with this card is that it's very splashable as well, and it makes all these decks that want to play Wanted and Original Simple Spoil a lot more consistent. So doing something to either Wanted or diabelstar I think is inevitable, but I don't think it's going to be diabelstar herself, no.
Yeah, diabelstar on her own is fine, but with Wanted, it just goes card neutral.
Just too much consistency for these decks.
It's not her time.
Yeah.
Makes sense, guys. So I guess we all agree that Diabell's not going to get hit, but I think we all have a general sense that Wanted might get hit to 1, because I feel like personally it's not Diabell itself that causes the issue. It's actually Wanted, because the fact that Wanted's a quick play spell, you can activate on draw phase, dodge draw. Also the fact that you can get original offer to and then have it on the following turn, on the same turn actually, and draw another card. It makes the consistency too high for the deck. And I feel like if we're gonna hit Snake Eye Ash, I feel like we hit Wanted too, in my honest opinion.
Typically,
yep.
with decks like this, they will aim to target the consistency more than the power ceiling of the deck, because they still want people to be able to play the deck and the deck to actually have an identity. But if you nerf the consistency, then it really helps bringing the deck down to like everything else. You're not just getting these crazy turns of multiple starters and extenders and just playing through everything, right? So I think Wanted and an Ash hit makes the most sense for keeping the deck alive, but then just nerfing it enough to like keep it level.
I think we all agree that Princess probably shouldn't get hit too.
Yeah, I think she's
No.
fine.
There's no difference
This
between
card-
1 and 3.
This card is the most like poorly designed thing. You can tell that the Master Duel team made it. There's like a million restrictions that could be on and then just aren't.
Yeah,
It
like
needs to be banned, but now it's not gonna happen.
there's an argument for ban, but it's too soon. Definitely just not touched.
It's also been really hyped, because
Yeah.
we had it in Master Duel for ages. People have been wanting to play with this card. It's not going to get hit straight away. Also, there's a mat of it and stuff. Yada yada yada. Marketing reasons.
Yep. I genuinely think Princess shouldn't get hit. Again, it just came out. Also, I don't think it's actually the problem of the actual deck. It does a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's not causing the consistency of making ultimate boards. I feel like it's Wanted and Snake Eye Ash. It's consistently doing it with Bonfire, obviously. And they wouldn't hit Bonfire to hit the other two before they hit Bonfire. So that's just my honest opinion there. Let's talk about the Fire King Kirin. So let's go with Billy. What do you think of Fire King Kirin?
I think just limit it so you can't do like the stupid loop and just have it in a small little package.
Yeah, I think the card being loopable in multiples is just what makes it strong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'll just jump the queue here, sorry, but I think
good.
like sometimes, like when they have to make the effort to add it to the hand or like go to other resources, which includes Sunlight Wolf and anything else, to put it to the hand, like I think that's more steps, which like sure, but that's like sacrifices they make in order to get to that, so they can guarantee it in the hand and they can play around things. Then you see it coming. Sometimes it's like they play through, put it in the grave, and then you don't see them put it to hand, and then you're like, you try to play around it, you don't, and then they have it, and it's like, well, I'm screwed. So
It's
yeah,
kind of the
seems
same
good.
logic behind what I said, sorry. Kind of the same logic behind what I said about Ash and Wanted, where it's not the kind of card where you need to ban it, but it's also not the kind of card that you want to leave at 3. Putting it at 1 leaves the deck's identity the same, but it just lowers the ceiling a little bit. It doesn't give you these really awkward scenarios where they have a hidden Kirin in hand, but they can still pop a Kirin with Garunix. It just gives them way too many interaction points just because this card does so much. So I think a limit is probably the most worthy hit, in my opinion.
What about you, Robbie? What do you think of it?
I don't know. I don't have too much of an opinion on it. If we're making all these other hits to the deck, like Kirin getting hit, I don't see happening. So like I'm indifferent about it. Maybe put it to 2 so you don't see it as much, but most decks are playing it at 2 anyway.
That's
Yeah,
true.
That's fair. I'm on the more inclined that I would think they wouldn't hit the Fire King stuff, because if you're hitting the Snake Eye stuff already, I feel like you wouldn't be able to play Fire King Snake Eyes. But the argument, like you guys were saying, is it causes a lot of destruction and it causes a lot of loops. And I know Konami's not very fond of having cards like that. Hence why a lot of Banlist cards are kind of like loops and dodging effects. So I would put it straight to 1, in my honest opinion. It can. Most decks only play 2 anyway. So putting it to 1 doesn't really make a whole big difference in my opinion. If we really wanted to get rid of it, we'll put a ban, but I think just hitting it to 1 makes it fine. Let's talk about Linkuriboh, guys. Do we think this card's getting hit? I don't think it is.
Master Duel
no
has
way.
hit.
Yeah, no way.
No, I don't think it's
Not
getting
getting
hit.
touched.
But, like, there's like an argument for it being banned because like there's so many strong link ones, but they're not touching it.
Let's jump straight to Flamberge, guys. What do we think of Flamberge?
1 or ban. Probably 1 though.
I think
Probably-
unlimited.
Yeah, I mean, probably 1, but like, here's the thing. Do I think? I think if they hit Ash Wanted Kirin to 1, Flamberge to 1 doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. But like,
Mhm.
I see the world where maybe Wanted doesn't get touched at all, and then Flamberge to Ash to
I mean, the way
Kirin
I'm
to
looking at
1.
it is it's like a pool of like possible hits, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like a
I
pick-
think
a
this-
pick of you.
I think 1 sounds like the right number. Like, you know, it all depends. I don't think they'll hit all 4 of the cards that we've currently thrown, either 3 cards to 1 and Flamberge to 1. But like, definitely
I
think
agree.
throw it up there. Double dig go.
The problem
It
with
just-
Flamberge that too is that you play through Nib for free if you have the field spell.
If you have multiple,
Dumb. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier. Plus, the thing is you have to keep in mind, this deck is a bit of a fragile tier 0 deck. It's not as amazing and as all-powerful as Ishizu tier, right? Hitting these many cards makes the deck a lot more fair, right? Even with the 3 that we have there, this deck is comfortably like tier 2. It's not that much stronger than it currently is, right? If you hit something like Flamberge on top, it just brings the ceiling down too far. That's why I think Flamberge can stay at 3. I think the rest of these hits are good enough to hit the deck.
What about you, Robbie? What do you think?
I feel there's no difference between 1 and 3. You put it at 1 and it only hurts the pure deck. Because Fire King Snake Eye plays 1 only anyway. So having it at 3 does nothing really.
And there's enough pure hits already, right? 1 Ash, 1 Wanted
Yeah.
is so much consistency for that deck. Like, gone.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I agree that they won't hit Flamberge, because also well, let's talk about future support like Noids. When that comes out, they kind of want Flamberge to be like a fire deck that can always support other fire decks. So I don't think they would hit that card. But the next card we're going to talk about is original, and this is a card I think that should be banned, in my
I agree.
honest opinion, because
And this card is broken.
yeah. in my
It is-
honest opinion, sorry guys to jump to queue, but reason why I think original should be banned is it enables, or the next card we'll talk about, we might as well talk about Jet at the same time. It enables cards like Jet or any other Link 1 fires that might be potentially broken in the future, and I don't think that's healthy for the game. And also, let's throw in the Rescue Ace engine too, with Fire Hydrant being a thing that they did before, and I just feel like this card just needs to go. What about you guys?
Yeah, any deck with a level 1 fire, right? So Noids can abuse it, will be abusing it in the future as well. It's like,
The thing with this card is it is probably the most broken extender ever printed in any deck, right? You have 3 Ash, 3 Wanted, 3 Diabelstar. So like Ash obviously getting you Poplar. So you have 1 million copies of this card into your deck. And it bridges from a Snake Eye engine, which is already an insane engine, into any other level 1 fire engine in the game. Which is not that many, but the ones that can do it are just incredible. And the thing is, the amount of advantage that this small little engine gets you is just incredible, right? Banish Original, you get another level 1 fire, start your combo. Banish Wanted to get the original back. The card is insane, but they can't hit the card, because the whole point is that they're trying to link the Snake Eye package with the level 1 fire package. This is the main card that does it. So in my opinion, I don't think this card's going anywhere. It should be banned, but it's not going anywhere.
What about you, Robbie?
I think it could be banned, but if they can do all these hits, I don't think it will. But as Joseph said, it does too much with so many other archetypes that it shouldn't be having this interaction with them.
What about you, James?
it's the original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye. That archetype, both the Sinful Spoil and Snake Eye, have cards yet to come. They're not going to touch this card in the form of banning it. It's like, gameplay wise, like, yeah, that would help. Stops a lot of cool things, but like, there are still so many other decks that will use this engine that I don't think banning it is the right move at all. I think consistency in other places are gonna this deck down a notch, but I think this deck is still going to have time and, you know, its time in the sun, and I think removing original is too strong of a hit, and it just goes against them, this being an archetype that is still being pushed and still has stuff to come. So I just don't, and I think leaving it, like putting it anywhere, it's like banned or nothing, right? So I think just leave it.
Yeah, I can go from the archetype or like I guess marketing perspective, but let's be honest here, is it really healthy for the game for this card to be legal?
I think it's fine. I mean, there's been plenty of other times in the game where like cards of this power level have existed and this much reach and this much potential. Like, if you hurt the consistency in other places, I think it's still like able to hurt the top 2 decks. But like, there are also decks that we haven't even seen yet that will be like that can be facilitated by having that part of an engine in it. So I think it's fine.
I think if there was a quick and dirty, like one hit you had to do to hurt the Snake Eyes archetype, you would just ban original or add one or the other. But like with all these other like possible hits, there's probably no reason to.
But let's be real, if they banned original, you could just legitimately take all the other limited cards off the list, right? And like the deck still gets hurt.
Strong of a hit.
That's what I mean. Very heavy-handed approach, but like, I can see a world where they do. I don't agree with it, but
we can dream.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put it as a ban for my opinion. Like, I get all your opinions, it all honestly makes a lot of sense. But I just generally think that, honestly, yeah, actually we could put it on the wish list. I generally think that, okay, I think the problem with this card is not the fact that it can summon like a different archetype. I think the fact in the graveyard they can search for any like fire, like level 1, and then put a card back. That actually comes up a lot with Wanted. And then Wanted can put the original back. And then you just have all this consistency. And then also, but we can also say, since we're all hitting these ones to 1, it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't hit original in that world. But there is a world where they just don't hit any of these cards and they just ban original. So, all our opinions make sense, honestly. And honestly, let's just say Jet's not going to get banned because...
Yeah, it's just a symptom.
Well, it's already been there once, it's not going back.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll reban this card.
What about SP Little Knight, though?
I like a limit, but I don't think it's happening. I think limiting it is nice because it means that a lot of these decks that are just playing it as like utility, like extra prosperity decks that like get rid of their extra deck, like, you know, it just makes it like less easy for them to have like this toolbox thing. It should be a deck that's dedicated to like link summoning something that's, you know, it needs SP in their engine to like, not engine, but as a removal card, right? A lot of these decks that can just throw it in and use it, it just seems a little unfair. Kind of like Halki Fibrex, right? They limited that card to stop the OTKs. That was like easy for Extrav and Prosperity decks to do, right? It's kind of the same thing.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about SP, like, what's it doing at 2 or 3 that it's not doing at 1? Like, I think the only time from memory where I'm seeing someone play multiple of SPs is Labyrinth, because they were playing Extrav, and the other one was there was that time where what's it called, Rescue Ace was doing that, and the prices are in Australian, but people were calling it the $500 Rescue Ace combo.
Yep.
With the double SP and Turbulence and Baron, like, but
the only reason why this card would be
1 and 3 is kind of the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Only reason
and
why
ban
it
is too unrealistic.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I'll just leave it unchanged. I don't think the card's worth the ban. Like, yeah, it's a strong, powerful card, don't get me wrong. It's a very good card, but I just feel like there's too many more powerful cards that need to be addressed first before SP Little Knight gets hit. Let's talk about actually the cards that are on the list. So we're going to kind of talk about some of them and anti-spell at the same time, because they both kind of do the same thing. They're both floodgates. So let's talk about some of them first.
Man, I think we need to ask you on that one, being the expert of summon limit. We want to know. We want to know your thoughts, man.
Well, honestly, I think some of them should be limited, because let's be honest here, Tikaboo, Gozen, and Rivalry all do the exact same thing in their own perspective, and some of them was the last one on that, like, I guess you can call on the list of, like, floodgates. I honestly think they should hit it one if they want a more healthy game, but you can also say that some of them it stops, I guess, all the best decks from going too hard and kind of keep a level adjustment. But you can say the same thing for, I guess, the later card we'll talk about Shifter, right? But I think some of them does a bit too much for the decks, and I think the fact that Snake Eyes can abuse it way more than most decks, it definitely should be worth hitting to 1.
Yeah, just hit it to 1. Just keep it in line with the other floodgates. Like, we just make the game less toxic. And
Actually, I mean, the only floodgates that they banned were ones that affect type and attribute, which is kind of interesting. I feel like there's a lot more floodgates you could hit, and there was also better times for them to hit cards like antispell, right? Like, I'm thinking like 2022, like Despia Sword Soul format. There was definitely an argument there to like just ban antispell. The card was just way too OP, but they didn't do that. I think either a change in game philosophy has happened with Konami, and they're kind of like, okay, we don't really want to have floodgates in the game anymore. The power ceiling of the game is too high. These cards just win the game automatically. Or they don't hit these cards because they're not in line with things like Tikaboo, Rivalry, and Gozen. But I think both of them should be limited. Both Summon Limit and Anti-Spell, in my opinion.
This isn't bias. I think Antispell is fine, but I hate Summon Limit with a passion. Going back to normal summon Moye, reveal a worm, flip summon limit, cool, my turn is ended. It's not a very fun card to have in the format. Anti-spell, at least, it doesn't stop you. It just means you can't use your spells. If you've opened monsters, then you don't care. It's just about deck building where anti-spell hurts a deck more.
it's a side card. They're gonna put it in like if you're playing a spell-heavy deck, and not if you're just playing like monsters.
Exactly. They're saying we should also hit Royal Decree, because it stops all traps.
No, we need anti-spell at 3 because we want to stop pens in their tracks. No pending.
Exactly.
Well, we have
This is a
DMLs
no
to
pen
replace
zone.
it. It's fine.
Yeah, I agree that anti-spell shouldn't be hit. It's just one of those cards. It's like a necessary evil, in my opinion. It's just like, it does stop a lot of like cards, don't get me wrong. It stops fast talents, you know, I guess original if we're talking about Snake Eyes or any field spell kind of deck. But you gotta remember, you still need to open this card. It's still hard to open this card, and you need to dig for it too, like with Prosperity or like any like draw engine. I don't think it needs to be hit. I think some of them it does, because some of them it does really impact the game. And if they hit Tikaboo, in my opinion, and Rivalry and Gozen, and they leave some of that free, I'd be quite surprised this card's still at 3. So I'm gonna put some of them at 1 and anti-spell unchanged. The next card we're gonna talk about though, guys, is Beatrice. What do we think of this card?
That should be banned.
Should be banned.
Should have been banned like 4 formats ago.
Look, Beatrice, I think, because I'm going to go the other side of the fence here, guys. I think Beatrice is okay. One, it's fine. Nothing particularly egregiously wrong going on now, and I can't wait for Robbie to chime in with the. But what about transaction rollback Ghostmeat's Girl? It's like we haven't seen that, right? If you're going to talk about Beatrice and the max potential of what it can do, yes, there is a world where it works out. But right now, there's a particular deck which needs it to function at the level to be even playable at Rogue, which is like tier.
Burning
And
Abyss.
it's not doing. Oh, sure, who's playing Burning? Right, let's. All right, okay, let's call up that exact one person. Yeah, you said his name, you summoned him, but like, let's be real. Tier's been hurt quite bad, and it kind of needs it to be function. And there's a lot of people who love the deck, even playing it in a rogue capacity. And without it, they're sort of too dependent on the Horus engine. Like, Beatrice isn't doing anything egregious right now. And since rollback, a lot of people were scared about Ghostmeat's Girl rollback, and that's not doing anything. So if that's not doing anything, it's supposed to be this big scary floodgate. And Tier's not doing anything particularly strong at the moment. Are we worried about Beatrice now?
Yeah, good point. Seems like a really weird time to be worried about the card. I think there was definitely
I've been worried.
points.
So you go.
I think there was definitely points where this card should have been banned. It's not now though.
It'll have its time, right?
Yeah.
We can leave
Like,
it for
it'll
now,
come back. it'll come back again, and you can all call me an idiot for not having preemptively banned it, and I'll take that on the chin. But like right now, it's
Nah, I agree. It's not the time for it. It should be banned, not now.
I feel it should have got banned ages ago when the bestials were running around.
Yep.
Because it's essentially like a revival chain where you do foolish anything. And that's not exactly too healthy in the game.
I will come to the defense of any foolish burial card as quickly as I can.
Yeah, James' favorite card is Foolish Pharaoh, so I think he'll defend that with his honor. But in my opinion, look, if we banned all those cards, right? We got Revival Chain ban, we got Curious ban. I'm forgetting another card, but we basically got all these cards banned for good reason, right? But out of those cards, Beatrice is quite hard to make compared to those cards. Let's be honest. Revival Chain's easy to make because it's 2 level 4s. Curious is easy to make because it's 3 different attributes. And I forgot the other one, but it will come back to me. But
Curious is the same attribute, different types, isn't it?
yeah,
Still pretty easy to make.
Still pretty easy to make. My bad for that one. But Beatrice, in my opinion, will get a future ban if they ever make an archetype for level 6 and like a FTK card. It's a future problem, but it's not its time yet. I agree with James with that. It's not its time yet. It hasn't really done anything right now. And if bestials do become prevalent, which I don't think they will be, like there's no like big dark deck at the moment. It's more worried about fire. So I think this is going to remain unchanged for now. It's not very it's not a problem. It will be a problematic card. Don't get me wrong, guys. Like honestly, to people at home that's watching this, it will get to a point. It will become problematic, but it's not the time for it yet, unfortunately. But a problematic card we're going to talk about right now is calamities. What do we think about this card, guys?
It can
Ban.
go.
Kill it with fire.
Centurion does enough without this card. It just
Centurion does not do anything with this card yet. And without it, yes.
Centurion gets 2 new cards very soon, and those cards do a lot. You can very easily make 2 12s in that deck with the new cards. They have enough interaction without this card.
Doesn't Centurion get 3 cards?
I believe it's they get the
yes.
spell as well, right?
The
They get
Gargoyle
the-
Synchro, the spell is the crazy one. That card's crazy.
Yeah, the spell is actually a good one.
So I have the most real opinion.
Yeah, I was going to say,
It should definitely
go
be
ahead,
banned.
Fed,
Everybody
Billy.
has been saying it should be banned for a million years, but it won't be banned because nobody's playing it.
That's a good
And-
point as well.
Yeah.
I think they want to keep it alive to give a deck that's considered rogue a chance, right? But I just think it seems a little dumb to keep it alive now that the deck kind of has more of an identity with like Wake Up and then the new Synchro.
Yeah, it's
Right.
about to be like, if you leave this, it's like, oh yeah, get Calamity locked through Shifter, and I play around Super Poly.
Yeah,
And because you're
which-
Shifted, it plays around like Droplet as well.
it's disgusting, right?
But it will not be banned, and Centurion will be T1. Hard prediction.
Unfortunately, probably. I think it should be banned.
Yeah, I think it's a wishlist material.
Yeah.
What about you, Abby?
VFD, Utopic Zexor, Azathoth. Is there any others I'm missing that are stupid turn skips?
Shock
Wrong
Master.
That should be gone.
I
Wongo.
think the common thread for all of them is
Yeah,
that they all
Rongo,
last a
Rongo,
little bit too
Rongo.
long.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, nah, this has got to go.
Billy
I
has a
don't, care if I don't care if it's not being made as frequently now, but the fact that it exists in the game is stupid. I know it didn't get hit in the last list because it got the structure deck, which makes sense. You want to sell the structure deck, but get rid of it now.
I think whether or not it should be hit isn't in question. We all know it should be banned. The question is, will it be banned to this list or later?
I think they need to
That's a
learn their
good
lesson
point.
after seeing the new Synchro 12 and Wake
That's a
Up.
good point.
and the new
Konami might need to punish us first. We might need to pay for our sin. So
Hey, look, we
maybe
already,
not this time.
we already get OTS super late, so that's punishment enough.
Well, I
That's
was
an
gonna,
Australian
I was gonna say honestly, I generally will pull this card as ban. Well, like Robbie actually made very good points about VFD, all those cards being banned. And yes, I understand Centurion doesn't really need to make it to playable, which is even more of a better point, right? You're not actually killing Centurion at all, but having a card like this in the game, I think everyone can agree right now is not healthy, and it always deserves a ban. And I think Billy brought up the best example is do I do it now or do I do it later? I think preemptively hitting this card makes more sense because they want to promote the new cards, right? And you guys brought up a good point saying we can make different level 12. Why don't we get other synchron monsters at level 12? We don't need calamities, right? But we don't want to have a game where I versus my Saterian opponent and he's making calamities and I can't play. And you don't want to just keep having side cards for these cards, because if we're doing that, we can might as well bring VFD back, because Virtual can make that instantly. They don't have to make that card, but they can make it at any time. And that's the same as Saterian. So, just in my honest opinion, I wouldn't put it on a wish list. I want to ban. I just don't think it's needed. You can get rid of it. Not healthy for the game at all. Let's go to the next card though. It's kind of an interesting one. So, Diagram. Do we think we need to unlimited this card?
No.
I don't see a reason why it can't be at 3. Maybe, look, I understand that there's the whole point of, like, stun is a little bit scary, but all these floodgates have just been limited. And let's keep in mind as well, like, True King is not doing a lot either. Like, this card is a good card for True King. True King is not doing a lot either, and dinos could use a lot of support. People like dinos a lot. And I think bringing a card like this back is always nice for rogue players. Plus, let's keep in mind, Fire King Island is a card. This card is very similar, and it's also for an objectively better archetype right now. So I don't really see a reason why this can't come back to 3, but I feel like they might be hesitant to do it just based on history. Right.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can get on that. Go for it, Robbie.
I feel this can't come back higher than 1 at the moment, much like you can't bring Mist Valley, the Divine Winds card back more than 1. It just promotes too much stupid gameplay.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Honestly, my honest opinion, Diagram is like, it's one of those cards that'd be cool for Rogue, but I don't think you need to bring it back to like more than 3. Well, yeah, I think you can just leave it at 1. I think the other card, I'll drag it up actually. I think the other card, I think they could potentially bring back if they didn't bring Diagram back. You can bring, I honestly think Masterpiece in this world wouldn't be too bad, honestly. At 1, it really does nothing, honestly. You just have a guy that's unaffected by monster effects and like spells sometimes, or like traps, right? And he's, with the game as it's going right now, it doesn't do much at all. He's very linear. But unfortunately, as all the Draco guys are gonna hate me right now, I don't think they'll ever bring Masterpiece back, just because it just does what it does. And the fact that people complained about it for years when it was a card and they hated it. And Diagram was one of those cards too. Yeah, I know it does the same thing as Fire King Island, but everyone forgets that Diagram was actually played in True King Dinos, which was a big deck back in 2017. Actually won Worlds too, fun fact. And you didn't play a single Draco card. It was all True King. And since Wifflegasm's at 3, I don't think they would bring Diagram to 3 because of the fact that we'll just constantly get extra deck whip. I don't know if you guys played back then in 2017, where you get Wifflegasm and you lose 3 of your extra deck cards instantly. And it's not a fun feeling. It's a pretty... no one wants to get whipped for that. So I think these cards will just remain unchanged, honestly. Do you guys think the same way?
Look, I'm just going to say, I'm a Swordsoul enjoyer, and Protoss is never coming back, and that's the same reason why this little guy can't come back.
Go for it, James.
I didn't play when these things are around. I have no real concept. I've read the cards. Like, I heard things about it. Doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like a fun time to be around. But like, I don't think they're gonna bring them off the list. I can't see a reason why.
I don't think Konami cares about them. They've forgotten.
Yeah.
So they'll just stay.
Like a big shrug from me.
What about you, Joseph?
Look, even with True King Dino, they have Ib, they have Denglong, they have 3 Litho. They even have Ground Xeno now. They even have Lars. This deck is as powerful as it's ever been. It's way more powerful than it was back then. Giving it 2 extra ways to access its already bricky engine is not really going to break the deck. Similar to how like bringing Danglong and Ib back wasn't enough to break like the level 5 synchro spam stuff, right? I think in a very similar vein, Diagram is not that big of a problem, but I think Masterpiece just promotes unhealthy gameplay, and that's why they're probably not ever going to bring this card back. But in my opinion, it could come back. I understand everyone else's reasoning though. I think it's completely fair enough that these cards are forgotten. They probably shouldn't come back, but I think Diagram can be at 3 and Masterpiece can probably be at 1, and it's probably okay. Nothing bad's gonna happen.
What about Arch Nemesis Protoss, guys? What do you think of this card?
He can go to hell. Stay
Yeah.
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I've look at our locals. We had a +1 ban list tournament where you could play a banned card. That was this evening, and I got Protoss. I was playing Branded Despia, and no darks. I popped the dark I had on field. I didn't die, and then I made Sanctifier, Despian Q. I specialed a Cartesia of deployment. Like I just relied on the lights. Like it's not too different from getting like Gozend, right?
Yeah.
Like yes, it's on legs. Yes, there's other effects. Yes, it has the pop. Yes, you can do it if it survives, but like it's not too dissimilar from other floodgates. But you have to play it in a worm deck pretty much.
Pretty much in Sword Soul, it would be the only
Yeah.
deck that can actually
Look,
use
Sword
it.
Soul's the only thing that I'm seeing use this, and like honestly, what's Sword Soul doing right now? Could they use some love? Yes. Do lots of people have it? Is Sword Soul the kind of deck you hand to your friend who hasn't played in a long time to come back? Is Sword Soul the kind of deck a lot of people have fascination with and enjoy? Yes. So honestly, I say bring it back.
Gonna keep in mind it's Master Duel League as well, and the deck
Yeah,
doesn't do a lot of Master Duel.
Yeah, I see it on Master Duel, and it's not the end of the world.
It's a
So-
really toxic card though, and I think that's enough reason to keep it banned. The fact that it's just it 1 out of 5 chance essentially.
On the game logic, like purely from like a fair gameplay, healthy game like point of view, it's probably better to not just leave it banned. But like,
It could come
I
back.
could put it in the wish list. I think it's like a thing. Like, you know, I think it's not going to get touched, but you know, I don't see it being the end of the world if it does come back.
I'll
Is
quickly
anybody actually, like,
jump
crying
in.
for the return of it though.
I'll quickly jump in.
Sword Soul players.
I'll quickly jump in there.
Yeah.
I generally think this card can come back. One, honestly, Sword Soul can search this card, and honestly, on Master Duel, if we do use it as a reference, and in OCG, this card's not doing anything. It's not like it was back then. Okay, the reason why this card was banned back in the format, it was banned because the second best deck was PK, or like Point Kids that was making DP and Verde. So Protoss was enabling to stop that combo specifically, and it was toxic at that time. But I don't think in a format where you got a bunch of different attributes, it does a whole lot. And I think the card needs some loving. I think it'd be fine unlimited. Honestly, it wouldn't change the meta right now.
I'm going to interject here and say that Sword Soul plays every single attribute. So the second you knew what your opponent was on, you play around it and you pop that attribute, and then they're locked out of the game completely.
Very, very hard to do.
I did that a lot.
Back then, yes.
Maybe
But
now
that
it
setup
would be nothing more
requires-
than degenerate lingering floodgate, right?
Yeah, but that setup requires what? No interaction with it, because you can interact with it. You can hand trap it. You
It
can
just
stop your opponent
requires you
getting
to
to that
open
line.
Moye.
But let's just say you're versing a water deck and you want to have Moye on board so you can Protoss them. You need a way to get to emergence. You need another way to make it 8, which is only really tight.
tokens
Or,
are
like,
water too.
Joseph.
You can leave tokens.
Cheng Ying is a water, and you can protect him from being destroyed.
yeah, you could go that route.
That's all you do.
It's a 2-card combo then. Seems fair enough. But I still don't think
Right.
it's that unhealthy that it has to stay banned. I think it could easily come back. It's just not a fun card. That's probably why it won't. But it could come back.
There's plenty of not fun cards.
Yeah,
From
true.
what I've heard, like even the Sword Soul players don't even want Protoss, right? They only jokingly want it.
Well, let's ask
Yeah,
the Sword Soul player, Robbie.
If I had it back, I'd be kicking everyone's ass. It's a very, very good card.
And I say bring it on. So that's
Yeah,
where I
why not?
stand.
I say bring it on too, because I don't. Well, I played Sword Soul back then too, with Protoss being Afro. I can definitely tell it was very degenerate. But the reason why I don't think it's that bad anymore, you versus Cashier, what are you going to call? Are you going to call Dark? You're going to call Earth? You're going to call Wind? You know, there's a lot of different decks that have different attributes. Yes, you can go against Snake Eyes, you call Fire, and they can't play. But, like, that's with, again, like James brought a good point, that's without no hand trap interactions. And there's no world where I don't think the Snake Eyes player is going to not stop you from getting protoss. So I think it'd be fun, unlimited. But the next card we're going to talk about is Cashier Fenrir.
Let me start this one. I think it should be at 1. I think when they hit Unicorn, they made the wrong decision. Fenrir should have been put to 1 immediately.
I agree.
It means it kills it from every other deck as an engine, and only one deck would play it. But you will hit that deck hard enough that it just doesn't do anything.
I don't understand why this card isn't on the ban list.
Yeah, it's really just pick a number that you like, 1 or 2.
It
I
should be 1.
I'm on the opposite side of the fence. I think it's a healthy card that creates good splashable strong engine in 2 decks. I think it's good. I think it's a nice card. I think we should keep it at 3. It's an engine that searches in itself. It's a good start to a turn. It helps break boards, particularly the fact that it stops, like, it outs lots of these different floodgates. Like, I've played many a deck that has been susceptible to antispell, and Fenrir is like one of the strongest outs. I've played many a deck that, like, it's just a good board breaking card. It's a good hand size card. Like, it's a good value card because you can just grab it, grab another one.
But isn't that enough reason to have it limited? If it does that much,
but
like,
but it's playable in so many different things. I think it helps a lot of decks that struggle. I think it's a good sideboard card that, like, comes in certain times. There are lots of people who are playing Snake Eye and they're on it now in sideboard, and I don't think it's scary. I don't think it's obscenely broken. I think it's something that makes your opponent think. I think it creates interactions, and I think it's the right kind of strong. Because
My concern is that you can go first with it and it just recurs itself immediately. It's card neutral interruption.
If all cards are fair, though, then, like, if every card was ridiculously fair, the game wouldn't be fun. You need to have a range of cards that are strong to cards that are specific. This card is
I
just...
think Fenrir pushes a bit over the top. Like, tag him out for some pank, right?
look, there was definitely a right time to hit Fenrir. I don't really think it's now. But what
Agreed.
James is saying is very true. The card is... okay, I think the card is quite powerful at what it's trying to do. It's a little bit too powerful for what it's trying to do. But I think it is generally just a good card. And it promotes an interesting sort of game dynamic, which is kind of healthy for Yu-Gi-Oh! In a way. But I think at the same time, the card is just too powerful at doing what it does. It does a little too much, right? Like,
Not anymore.
yeah, that's what I mean. This is the wrong time to hit it, right? There was a time to hit it. It's not now.
There was
I
a
think the
time
card
where,
was
like,
at 3.
yeah, there was a time where hitting it was correct. I think it's past that time.
Yeah,
I think it's just fine to have it where it is. That's my opinion. But, you know,
I agree. I think it's fine to have it where it is, but the card at some point in time should have been, like, limited, I think.
I want it to stay, but I also see a world in which they would hit it at some point. Right?
Well, I'll jump in from my opinion. I'm actually on the opposite of everyone. I think this card should be banned. Because any card that can special summon and search for itself and enable to... Okay, so I played Fenrir today. And I played my Vanquish all day. Because obviously, like James said, it does help, like... I can agree that it does help the lesser decks to out floodgates, like some of them anti-spell rivalry goes, and there's a lot of bad floodgate cards, right? Let's talk about Plank too at the same time, because these cards are very similar to what they do. But the difference between Plank and Fenrir is I can't summon Plank going first. I can't do that. They have to control a monster, and I have to use my strategy to either attack or to pop the floodgate. With Fenrir, on the other hand, though, no, I can special summon it, I can add a card from my deck, I can use this card as a discard folder, it can enable me to go +1 with my other cards, which I don't think that's healthy in that aspect. The fact that you can target a card face up and banish it face down too is pretty good compared to Plankotops, what he used to do. Because Plankotops is the reason why it got banned, hit to 1. You can even say Fenrir can get hit to 1 too, because they both essentially do the same thing, but I think Fenrir's the better version of Plankotops. Man, I think everyone can agree on that. Like, Fenrir is the better version of Tops. It's very obvious. And
but
Tops in the format, it was really good. When I played Sky Striker format 2019, I know James not very familiar, but if you had triple Tops, you can only summon one Tops. In Fenrir, if they pop your Fenrir on summon, you can summon another Fenrir, right? So the difference is Tops were more fair, but that card got hit to 1. But if we are talking about that format, there was 3 red reboot too, so it's a bit different in that context. But the fact that you can only summon one Tops and then you can summon 3 Fenrir, let's say I opened 3 Fenrir, which I actually did today. My opponent popped Fenrir on summon. Okay, I summon another one. He popped it again. I summon another one. Does that really happen? No, never really happens. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did actually have 3 Fenrir today, and it actually happened.
I guess you're just the guy.
But no, but that's what I'm saying is Fenrir does more than Tops. Right? We can all agree on that. And I don't like cards like that because yes, it's very fair for other decks. Like yes, it helps them grind game, but the meta decks also use this card too. Like everyone uses this card.
Yeah,
I'm
okay
but
with it
like,
being banned, I guess.
how scared? How scared is like the top end of the game of Fenrir?
Honestly, well, think about it, right? In Kashira format, if I judgment Fenrir and they summon another Fenrir, that's pretty good, isn't it?
But we're not in Cash Terraform.
But that's what I'm saying, though. But no,
I'm just saying power creep.
Yes, I know, but you can think about borrow cards, right? And you think of Fenrir being the top card because sometimes Fenrir on its own can break a whole board. It really can. Same as kind of very similar. If I'm talking about right now, I would still hit it as banned, dude. I think this card's not healthy. It's just my opinion, though.
The grind, right? Like sometimes you can break the whole board, but because they went Fenrir, Sedge, Fenrir, you know you're just gonna get wrecked on the crackback. Because they'll just special Fenrir and clear like whatever.
But this is all like objective reasons.
Yeah, they're all objective reasons. I can understand for both.
Subjectively, I don't think this is a good time to hit this card.
Yeah,
if we look at the way the game is, this is not a good time to hit this card. Objectively, good.
Had you mentioned this on the ban list going into last one, like it's more valid for sure. In the 2 lists ago, 100% should have been hit. But where we are now, I think we just, they let it, they just let it roll, and I think that's just where it is. And Pankratops, look, at 1 and 2 didn't make a difference. Put it to 3.
Yeah, I already put a show on Unlimited. I think that card is, as I said, I think Pankratops is a weaker version of Fenrir. So if Fenrir doesn't get hit, I don't see why Pankratops should be at 2 anymore.
I will also just throw in one more thing of I absolutely got rolled today by the fact that Fenrir bodied my board and the fact that they had the follow-up and had to pass to them to the crackback of them knowing they're going to go Fenrir first. Absolutely, it should have shattered my board, should have shattered my game, and I lost to it. But I still think it's whatever. But yeah, if you want to ban it or like limit it, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think a lot of opinions make a sense. I genuinely think that. But let's talk about the next card, Gimmick Puppet. What do we think of this card, guys? So, and we're going to talk with James first because he's like the most. James and Joey both know this card very well. So let's talk about it, James. What do you think of Gimmick Puppet Nightmare?
Sometimes you look at the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, you think of the Puppet Lock, and you just blind yourself to playing optimally, and you just go, I can do this. I can win the game by just saying no. But honestly, there are so many boards you can make, and there's so many options. And I assume we're specifically talking branded Despia. I don't want to hear about no Gimmick Puppet plays.
Gimmick Puppet doesn't even use the card.
Yeah. But let's be real. It's a problem, but you got to tie it into Sanctifire. Because if we're going to talk about Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, you're talking the world of banning it. You have to talk about every other target and its validity. It's good because it's you can dump it off Granrignol, but there are other targets you can, like either the Supreme Magical Force, I don't remember the exact name, is like one, but like you can get rid of that and then you can play is another argument. So there's more counterplay than Gimmick Puppet Nightmare.
Logically, you just hit the problem card.
Ra's Disciple, but like yes, I think the inevitability is we have to hit the problem card, which is Sanctifier, which hurts because. Look, I will tell you for a fact, the tournament today, I Sanctifire summoned as many times targeting things that didn't involve a Gimmick Puppet Nightmare as I did Gimmick Puppet Nightmare.
And that's the thing. Branded
It's
as
a
a deck
problem.
doesn't actually need Gimmick Puppet.
It doesn't
Sanctifier
need
by
Gimmick
itself
Puppet
is
to
2
win.
to 3 interactions without a Gimmick Puppet. The deck is
But
good enough to win the game going first without the card. But the thing is, it's
if we
unfair.
lived in the world where it couldn't bring out a broken floodgate in the sense of Gimmick Puppet Nightmare or Ido the Supreme Magical Force or God, what are the other ones? There's Vice King Requiem, which is a fiend lock.
There's a million of them.
Yeah, there's just too many to say Gimmick Puppet Nightmare is the only problem. I would like it if Sanctify could stay because it could get other cards, but I think
It's got to be
I'm
Sanctifier.
admitting Sanctify has to be the and Gimmick Puppet Nightmare can do whatever the hell.
Without a doubt, it's Sanctifier.
Alright, let's give Wabi and Billy's opinion here. What do you guys think?
I'll defer to the experts. It's Sanctifier. We hit the problem card, yeah. It's just Sanctifier.
It's always Sanctifier.
What about you,
She's
Wabi?
already,
So good.
Yeah, Sanctifier's the next step. Expulsion gone, and then they can summon again to the opponent's side of the field, so Sanctifier's next.
What about you, Wabi? What do you think?
It appears we've lost Robbie.
I think Wabi's dead. I would think Wabi would say Sanctifier, and honestly, for me too, I would also say Sanctifier will get banned. If we went to the route of banning between Gimmick Puppet and Sanctifier, I think they would ban Sanctifier before Gimmick Puppet because, again, like we said, there's multiple different locks that you can achieve with Sanctifier. Might as well talk about Branded Fusion too at this point because we are talking about Branded and can't talk about Branded without Branded Fusion. Do we hit this card, guys? Honestly, I personally think it doesn't need to be hit. What about you guys?
Just have Ash, dude.
No,
The card will
just
never
have
be,
Ash.
the card will never be banned.
Look,
But the
if
thing
there's-
is, it can get limited, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But the thing is, a Branded Fusion limit literally just means that they Branded Fusion you, they Retribution for Branded Fusion you, and that's all they get. Now, the thing is if you aren't dead at that point, it means you drew Ash twice, which means you already won the game, right? But if you are dead at that point, it's because they resolved Branded Fusion at least once. So limiting the card did literally nothing in the outcome of the game. So, in my opinion, you either limit it or you leave it at 3, and in my further opinion, it does nothing either way. It does the same thing. So, they did in OCG, they have multiple branded hits. They have Aluber at 1, Opening at 1, Fusion at 1. Now that's worthwhile because it means that you actually can brick, right? But at the same time, that's not as impactful as just doing other branded hits like the problem cards, like Sanctifier, right? Hitting genuine problems is a lot better for the game than just hitting stuff that consistency, that kind of thing, right? Unless it's
In
a
the
deck like
OCG, they have Maxi to soak up the ashes.
exactly.
correct. But let's also talk the gameplay one. We remove Sanctifier, we remove the ability to Gimmick Puppet lock people. You're playing the game. Like, there are layers of interaction, there are ways to be branded, there are just choke points, and there's just understanding of the potential resources that they can have. Branded Fusion is one of the strongest cards in the game, fact. But it is in a deck that has ways to play. Like, you remove the Sanctify thing, there are so few times where you're going to play a deck that has any sentiment of being a meta deck and not bricking, and you're not going to play with the branded player. Like, there is a game happening, there is interaction, there's choices, there is understanding of what resources they have, what resources they could have, and how far they can go with these things. There's so many sideboard cards that hit other decks as well. There's so many main deck choices that hurt. Like, the list of cards, if you look at a standard sideboard, can hurt branded, not specifically tailored because it exists, including main deck hand trap choices and board breaker choices, is huge. There are so many ways to play against this deck, and I don't think hitting Branded Fusion is needed. I think that's the cry of the less experienced player, to be quite frank.
Yep.
Oh, well, while we're talking about Fusion, let's talk about the one that supposedly stops fusions. I put Albion on the list because that card can go either way, but I don't think it will get hit. But let's talk about D-Barrel. People I've been seeing on on Twitter and like a lot of YouTube videos, people want debarrier banned for some reason, and I personally, my honest opinion, I think it's pretty fair to what it really does. Like, yes, it stops the archetype from like the fusion and the synchro, but like again, it's really hard to get this card. Like, you really have to like go fast, or you go like trap trick for it, and yes, it stops the whole turn, but I don't think it's worth the ban. What about you guys?
3 times in history in my head that I can think of where this card should have been banned and it wasn't banned. There's no way it's happening now in a format where the best deck in the game plays 15 link monsters in its extra deck. I have no.
Whoa.
Okay,
They play one
hang.
Typhon.
Okay, and that one as well, I guess. There is no way debarrier gets banned in this format.
For sure.
No way.
Not its time. Like,
Yeah.
as someone who plays branded and fusion decks quite a lot, that particularly I don't like getting debarriered. I'll admit it's a 100% needed card. Banning it is not a healthy move. Like, if I use a interrupt on my opponent, hand trap them, and then their response is thrust set debarrier, I better have a way to play around it. I better have something in my deck other than just hoping to enter my turn, play nothing but gas, and win. You know, debarrier is I'm not going to say a healthy card, but it's a needed card.
There was many times in history where this card should have been hit. It's very clear Konami does not want this card to go. They just feel like it's healthy enough at countering these decks, right?
What about you, Barry? Same opinion?
One time I got Nightmare locked by Andy, and then I set debarrier, and I tribute summoned Mudan, and then I added Concon and set sheet, and then I won. So, I'm a big fan of debarrier.
Alright, well, I think we'll quick cut about debarrier. Let's talk about Orcus Harp. Do we think this card can go, but... Well,
Sorry.
yes.
While we're still on the topic of fusion, can you bring Super Poly into the... Because I think it falls into branded and other decks.
Oh, yeah, true.
The amount of time all my decision making has been thrown out the window because I have a Super Poly in my hand is stupid. Right now, I am sideboarding / not playing in branded Despia. Definitely think you can main it if you want, but I don't think it's that great against Snake Eye, Fire King, and Snake Eye. But the point is, building up to this format, previous formats, and building up here, the amount of games where any amount of decision making my opponent or I had went to 0 because the best choice for me was to windmill slam Super Poly onto the table, and the amount of nothing my opponent could do is just silly. Like, when you're playing a deck that doesn't need extra deck space and you play it, like for example in Centurion or other decks like that, it's strong. But when you're playing it in a deck that already plays fusions and benefits from these in a strong way, it's silly. It's absolutely silly how strong Super Poly is. I'd throw it to 1, personally, but like, banning it is probably where it is. But that's like the nature of the game. Like, skill drain's at 1.
It's that for
It's skill drain. Oh, that's true. It did go to 3, but like, skill drain was at 1, and like the other Tikaboo, the Rivalry of Warlords, the Gozen is at 1. Like, why are they at 1 when they could be at 0?
Look, the only reason why I would ever see them putting this card to 1 is because it's technically an engine piece for you, Bell. So I feel like they want to leave it in the game so you can still search the card. But I totally agree. I think this card is just completely broken. It has no place being a board breaker. Card is so stupid, right? Especially consider, like, if Yubel does end up being a good deck, this creates some of the most toxic mirror matches in the entire game, because one Super Poly clears literally everything your opponent has in one go, and then you have a massive beat stick that can win you the game in one go. It's very unfair, very polarized gameplay. I can see this being at 1 because that makes more logical sense, especially in like talking more about Yubel outside of it being like a searcher. It means that the deck can still play it as an engine piece. It's more thematic with the deck and what it's trying to do. But as a board breaker, the card is way too strong to be at the game in 3. It's incredible.
It also means at 1 that you have to be a deck that's already playing the targets for it justifiably, because like, what deck is getting away with the 1 Super Poly but also the extra deck space for the targets? Like, remember when Rescue Ace was on this, and remember like, well, Centurion, and like, you could list all these other decks that have benefited from, like, Unchained was on it, right, at a point in time?
Yeah.
Like, 1, okay, sure, you're playing a fusion deck, maybe you fuse your target with their monster to duck something, like, say you normal summon like Aluba, then you go do that, or like any other card that's benefiting from it. It's like that's kind of cool, but like I could ban Door at 1 for sure. And also to correct, when I said skill drain was at 1, it was at 1 for a long time, right? When it should have just been banned and then put back to 3. But that's my point. Like Konami has a habit of taking some silly cards that maybe we should just go outright banned, but being like, no, leave it at 1 because people do like seeing it.
I'm gonna be honest here. I think Super Poly should be banned. Like
Yeah,
it's literally So I did play a format. This is like probably one of my first formats. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in Shadol format. I think it was at 1.
Banned.
It was at 1. It was at 1 before that, but
Yep.
in Shadol format it was at 1. And I remember the big talk of that YCS when Peter Mitro won it is, man, I got Super Poly'd. My one-off Super Poly won me the game in Shadol format, and when I feel like this card should be either at 3 or banned. It's one of those kind of cards. I kind of put it with Maxi, right? Maxi, you never want Maxi at 1. Because the awful feeling of your opponent drawing the one-off Maxi, it's the worst feeling in the world. I can tell you because I played Spiral format when it was at 1. And it's the worst thing in the world when you got Maxi'd and you just want to like say, okay, I don't want to play anymore. Like I just got sacked. And at least with Super Power being at 3, you can kind of make your deck and you can use your strategy. So with the fight, I guess with the Fire King and the fight Snake Eyes, is a lot of people actually make non-Super Power boards because they play around Super Power. They respect the card, so you can make the argument of being banned, or you can also make the argument of leaving it at 3 because it keeps a safe game, a healthy game, because people have to remember this card's a real thing. So I think the reason why they haven't banned it, because it should have been banned a couple like formats ago too, that I think it actually keeps a healthy state at some points. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's crazy in Brand, it's crazy in a lot of other decks that don't really use the extra deck, but I feel like it promotes actual healthy game state sometimes, because if your opponent wants to commit a mad board to like getting super powered, that's the risk they're willing to take. If your opponent doesn't play super power, right? You're taking that risk. I'm like, okay, I hope he doesn't play super power. Or you can build your deck to go, okay, I can play around super power. I can make I can make a Link that doesn't get super powered. I can make another card that doesn't get super powered, right? And I think super power is, honestly, at first I said, yeah, it should be banned. But the more I keep thinking about it, the more I think it's actually quite healthy that it's at 3. Because, man, there's a lot of decks that do so much. And I'm going to put Dragon Wing out there, man. Like, I feel like if Super Power wasn't a card against that deck, it'd be outrageous what they can really do. Like, I know Brandon has a decent matchup where you can set the good old Albaz and just Oceanias if Dragon Wings would pop a deck. But not every deck can do that. You know what I mean? Like, not every deck can play 4 on Albaz. I think Super Power helps that aspect when decks like that get too big. Because the old Dragon Wing, I know some of you guys didn't play, but the hand whip version, for example, when with Smoke Grenade being a thing, having Super Power in that format, if it was legal, it would have helped a lot of problems. Like, it would have really solved a lot of problems. Like, yeah, I know you can't stop the hand whip, but let's just say those got banned. After Super Power came back, it actually helped the format quite a bit. It made people like more aware. I'm like, okay, I can't commit a mad board, I can't do this, because I have this card named Super Power that might ruin my day. So
sometimes though, cards that demand respect don't necessarily mean they're fair. Like, sure, it encourages skillful gameplay, but the thing is, the card, as James was saying, the card, you can literally just autopilot and win the game sometimes when you have this card.
Yeah,
It's very unfair.
I've had games where my opponent's building their board, I look at my hand, maybe I don't have hand traps, I'm looking at all the gas I have, thinking about the end board they're baking, and concocting the strategy in my mind into what they're ending up on, seeing how they end up. Draw for turn, draw super poly, go, well, screw that, I'm gonna slam this. Like,
the amount of branded mirrors we've had that have gone for turns and turns, and then someone draws a super poly, and the game is over.
An iconic Chimera branded mirror we had, where like I set up my board, and then you just draw super poly.
I drew it for turn, and then super polyed your beast and your illusion, made my big guy, and OTK'd you straight away. It was so unfair, and there was nothing you could have done.
Oh, yeah.
It was disgusting. That's genuinely what happens. You know, it's
But
a card
that's saying it in the Brandon Mirror though. Is that
Yeah.
is
Sure,
that
that's
a
extreme
representation? Because I know you guys are big Brandon fans, so you could be a bit biased towards the card. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So
but,
let's talk to
There
Billy.
are other matchups.
I guess I have the real opinion then,
Yeah.
because I have played James a great many times, and every time I wonder if I'm losing to Spolly or James. But I know deep down the answer is that James is the super poly. It's just always in his hand. And that Regulus and Rosewhip are always going to end up as a Mud Dragon.
But like, what can I do? Like, if I draw that card, am I not gonna play it? If I'm against the deck like that, like, why would I not put that in? As long as it's an option.
Going back to the ban list, I think it's like 3 is a bit too much, 1 is a bit too little. I think I like the OCG hit of 2, you know. We'll make like committing like the 2 extra deck spots to it be a little
What
bit
Steven
worse.
said?
Like, you know.
What Steven said has to stay. It's either 3 or 0. It
Can I
cannot
go?
be.
Can I go?
Like 2.
Can I go old man?
Fine at 2.
Can I go old man for a moment? I played back a long time ago, and I remember Super Poly was at 1, and then they decided to ban it. I think that was 2015.
Yep, that was a
Could
good
be
offer,
wrong,
mate.
Yep. And I remember like leaving in the when I stopped playing the game, and I came back like tier format. And when I'd learnt that Super Poly was at 3, my mind was blown. I was like, you people have decided that Super Poly is okay? What the? Like, how?
Then they made Garura.
Yeah, I read Garura and I was like, oh my god,
This card can't
what's going on?
Yeah, the card can't be. Look, it's either 3 or 0.
I thought I was being gassed. when I found that. Straight
And
up.
also, like, I know, when you see Super Poly, but let's be honest, there's sometimes you see Super Poly and you go, fuck, I can't use this card. I'm pretty sure you guys have been in that situation before.
The amount of times I first met Hurst, I have a set card, and he goes, Super Poly, I know it is, and he just makes an awkward play around it and finds out he was right.
Yeah, a lot of decks don't lose to it, and that's the thing, right?
It's very
It is a board
skillful.
breaker.
It's very skillful to like.
That's why I think it's healthy, Afro. I think it's actually like a skillful card.
you-
But yeah,
but
sometimes you can't do
know
anything
there are
about
decks.
it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Right? Let's be truthful here. There's sometimes you just can't play around it. It's just how it is. It's like the floodgates, right? You just can't play around it. There's something you can do about it. You kind of just cop it. Like, if I don't have Cosmic Cyclone for the anti-spell, or Fenrir...
This is the thing. The card is a board breaker.
Actually, even better, like, Super Point beats anti-spell too. That's kind of a bad example, but... yes, look, there's going to be games where Super Point is fantastic, and it's the greatest thing you ever seen. And then I guarantee there's going to be games where you go, oh man, I wish it was like something else. It's just how it is. That's why I think it's healthy.
If there was
in
a
my honest
board
opinion.
breaker in the game that beat every deck, it would be too broken.
Yep.
This card doesn't
Sure.
beat every deck, but it beats 75% of them. You know, that's pretty good for a board breaker. That's enough reason to be main decking it. Like, I don't know. The card is
Shall-
just too good.
Shall we move on to Orcus Harp Horror?
Yeah, let's go to Orcus Harp Horror.
Sorry to open up that jar of worms. Can of
Yeah,
worms.
nobody cares about this ride. Can go to 3.
They can go to 3. As long as
Yeah.
Mermaid's banned, this card can be a billion. doesn't
I
matter.
got so I never played in that format. I had people explaining Orcus to me. I played against someone playing Orcus without it, like maybe 3 weeks before the list came out, and you know, I thought this deck's cool. Tested Horus Orcus Bestial, like, yo, this deck's looking pretty good. Turns out the deck's dog shit.
Yeah. It's Orcus is too fair. It genuinely is too
Yeah.
fair now.
Power crept.
Yep.
See it.
Yeah,
Put it to
I
3.
agree.
I think it'd be really quick. I'll put it to 3. Yeah, it doesn't do it. Again,
Like-
the format
Gazelle.
back then. The format back then was a lot slower, and there's a lot more cards that got hit back then too. So like Nightmare Mermaid was the big one, right? That got hit. Engage at the time got hit. Even though Engage is at 2 now, I think having Nightmare Mermaid never coming back, I think Orcus Harp at 3 is fine.
Since you invoked the name Engage, let's bring that one up.
Yeah, so I think Engage just stays the same. I think it's not doing anything right now, and I don't want to add 3 at any point. So that's just my opinion on Engage. What about you guys?
Bring it to 3. I like playing Bestials. Let's game.
The deck does absolutely nothing with 10 engage.
I like
They
playing.
have
I like.
thrust. Thrust is
I
already
like-
engaged, so
I like.
Yeah.
I like playing against the Sky Striker. There's some fun matchups.
Here's the thing. Okay. Sky Striker creates a fun game state where both players are forced to like literally abuse every resource they have in their deck, which is quite fun. Playing games like that is very fun. But the problem with Sky Striker is if we look back at 2018, 2019, going set 2 Widow Anchors or having a hand trap and a Widow Anchor was essentially an FTK. Tell me how any deck plays through 1 negate back then. You don't, right? The thing is now is even with the new support that's coming out, the stuff that we have in the OCG, the deck literally can't do anything more than maybe like 2 Widow Anchors and a Shark Cannon turn 1, right? That is not enough. Genuinely, that is not enough. Even if you use your interactions perfectly, if your opponent draws 3 extenders, they play through all of that, which is not uncommon, right? So, in my opinion, this card can be at 1 billion copies, and it's totally fine. Even if they resolve 6 engage in 1 turn, it's not going to get you enough interaction to go first. If this deck wants to go second, that's completely fine, but it's inconsistent. Any deck that wants to like telegraph itself as going second, especially as a deck that doesn't have enough room to afford to play 1 million board breakers and still have a healthy amount of engine, is completely fine to have consistency at like engage at 3. I think this card can be at 3 in the deck. It's completely still
Okay.
rogue.
So what you're saying is ban Hornet Drone, engage the 3.
Yeah. Deck doesn't even need Hornet Drones.
No, I disagree with that. Hornet Drone is it's not the problem with Hornet Drone. It's not for Sky Strikers. It's for the other decks that can abuse
That's what
it.
I mean. The
So
deck doesn't need it.
That's
reason
why we
well,
ban Hornet Drone, engage to 3.
I genuinely think Engage doesn't need a move. I think it's actually perfectly fine being at 2. It's one of those unique cards that should just stay at 2. Because here's the reason why I don't want to add 3. Okay, there's a clause in Engage that says 3 or more spells to draw a card, right? You'd be surprised how having 2 Engage and 3 Engage is a big difference, right? So when Engage was actually a proper deck, let's go back to Sky Striker Trickster format, right? So obviously Hornet Drone being F3 was a mistake. So what they used to do is just make 3 Nightmare, Phoenix, 3 any like Wing 2 extender without even using their normal summon, right? You can also go Terraforming at that point because Terraforming was F3. And since we have 3 upstarts, we never had 3 upstarts and 3 Engage in the same format. I'm not saying it's game changer. I'm not going to say, oh my god, that's going to really change the game. But having that enableability of having like constant spells and you constantly draw, you could end up with like 8 cards in hand and you could have like bad floodgates too. Like Sky Striker is going first. If you're playing the going first build, your strategy is to floodgate your opponent or to make them not play. Like with your 5 hand traps. That's the strategy for going first. The going second strategy is to play fast, all the super board breaker storm, Widow Anchor, droplets, because droplets sends another spell really good. I think this card's fine at 2. I don't want to see a world where it's at 3 again because I just don't want to see it ever at 3 because if you do the maths with it,
We'll be real.
and
It's getting support anyway. Engage later.
Yeah.
I just think it's fine at 2. I don't think you ever want it at 3.
Being a realist, yes. Like, it at 2 is fine. Plus, it's getting support, so who knows if it goes to 3, then it gets support. Maybe it's broken again, and like, ugh.
Yeah, you just don't want to take that. Especially,
Leave it at 2.
It's not.
might as well talk about Into the Void at that same point, right? Into the Void's very similar to Upstart in a sense of like drawing a card, but the difference with Upstart and Into the Void doesn't give you 1,000, and also Into the Void makes you discard your whole hand. So, I think this card can get unlimited. Honestly, I don't think it's like gonna do anything. I think the reason at the time it got hit,
Striker Orchest.
Striker Orcus, because it had the jaws.
Do you think people are going to do normal, healthy things with Into the Void? You know they're going to do something dumb and degenerate with it.
Well,
Well, that's the same as
only
Rule of
reason-
Darkness, right?
The only reason why this card was good is because Striker Orcus played 0 hand traps, and you just wanted to put 3 spells in your grave so your engage could get you a free draw. That was the only reason why you played this card, but it was so stupid in combination with all of the other draw cards you can play. Which is a similar reason why cards like Upstart were at 1 for so long, because you can just decrease your deck size by so much. You can play Dangers, Into the Void, Upstart, Sekka's Light, like all these dumb cards, right? And that's kind of like you know, I feel like it's a reason why you should keep it at 1. But this card can come back, right? There's no real scary deck in the game right now that's just deep drawing and killing you. So I think it's okay at 3, but it is an
Yeah,
unlimited
like-
card.
We need hand traps now, dude. Gotta open them.
We do play hand traps now, so
But
More
you
draw.
know-
Yeah.
You know some people are gonna do something degenerate with it.
yeah, but there's a lot of cards in the game
Fine.
already where that is like an argument, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
cards in
Yeah.
the game where this card's degenerate. People are gonna do dumb stuff with this, but that already exists. So
Like a +0 is not gonna hurt. Another +0.
I think the more
Yeah.
reason why Into the Void was a bit more broken back then, because sometimes Orcus dead draw, and actually discarding your hand help, because if you have Babble up, you can actually play on the turn, and actually not having it in your hand was better. It was actually better to have it in your graveyard.
yeah,
It's kind of like a, I guess with the Infernity strategy, where you make sure you have no hand, right? And yeah, I think honestly, if they're going with upside being at 3, I think this card can just get unlimited too.
it can be at 3.
No need. Let's talk about Magic Spectre Kirin.
Can I chime in?
Yeah,
Three.
go for it. Go for it, Damo.
Just keep it banned. Fuck Pendulum. Actual mistake of a mechanic.
I agree. This man's 100% got. He knows. This man knows.
as much as
I lived Pendulum. It was horrible.
everyone hates Pen, this card can come back.
No,
Pendulum made me get up and leave. It made me get up and leave the game, brother.
The only bearable Pendulum archetype was Cliffort, and it didn't even really abuse Pendulum because it just used it as a means and an end to it. It was a tribute summon deck disguised as a Pendulum deck.
Clifford's as a pen deck was a pen deck I could tolerate. I was around during that. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Play it a lot. You're like, it does some stuff. Then you look at all the other Pendulum degeneracy. You're like, nah, get out of here.
Cliffort was the result of what if they made a Pendulum version of Monarchs. That was kind of the deck. Like, it just used the ability to summon free bodies to normal summon. Because if you weren't if you weren't normal summoning in Cliffort, you were losing. Because
Look.
you just needed it. Yes.
The thing is, with Kirin, right?
No.
The thing with Kirin is mainly the fact that Magispectre is a real deck, and that deck needs something. This tier 99 rogue deck could use an extra interaction. Kirin is not scarier than anything that a Pendulum board is putting up right now, right? If we're really scared of pendulums, and the next relevant pendulum pilot coming up is Supreme King Melodious. It's a real deck, right? Playing in OCG. The thing that deck does is just massive vomit negate boards. Everything you think of. Vortex, Savage, Baron, Apo, this kind of thing. A Kirin on top of that does nothing. It literally does nothing. You're already losing the game anyway. Giving Magispectre an extra name in a deck that Xenolocks itself into only Magispectres is completely reasonable. There's no way, there's no world where this card is making a difference in the game's outcome anyway, right?
I agree. It's just I don't think Pendulum deserves any. I agree, but I just don't think Pendulum deserves any happiness.
Yeah, your
pretty
logic is
fine,
on
but-
point, but
Pen players don't have human rights. So
that man's got a point. Pendulum players, they're not the one.
I'll be honest, man. I don't want Kirin back. It cost me
Yeah.
it cost me ICS. So fuck that card.
This
Also,
This is all subjection.
just to reiterate, the fact that you said that Supreme King Melodious is just vomiting out negates is just the exact same thing that Pendulum
Pendulum's always
Magician-
done.
Yeah, like
But it just does it better than it ever has, and it's disgusting. And that's the problem, right? That's all Pendulum's ever going to do. That's all they're ever made to do. But it just... it feels like giving them an extra interaction is not that bad, right? In a world where we have all of these generic negates now, it doesn't matter if they get an extra interaction. It's completely fine. That's all Kirin does. Kirin is literally just an interaction. It's only going to be played.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of having Kirin because here's my problem with Kirin. It's a non-targeting bounce, and those cards are not fun. They've never been fun.
Yes,
I know what you're saying. Like, I got all my negates, I got a bunch of negates. Yeah, I understand that, but you know, Kirin can bounce itself back and then summon itself back, right? It's pretty good when it does that. Like, I know you didn't play the format of Metapho ABC, but man, getting ripped by Kirin was one of the most frustrating experience I ever experienced in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not fun. Well, plus, I'll be honest, man. If you I know Vanning's Emptiness is banned. Okay, I understand that it's not going to be a real thing, but ripping Kirin under like a floodgate or any like floodgate, it's really not the funnest thing in the world.
No, it's unplayable. You literally can't win the game.
So I would leave it unchanged, but let's talk about Electrumite. Do you think this card can come back?
No.
Astrograph's legal. I don't know. I don't think
We
there's
have
ever
a good concession. How about we bring back all of the banned pen cards, but then we ban pen players from ever playing the game?
Look, I can see a world where Kirin's at 1 and never multiple copies because I'd rather gouge my eyes out. But not Electrumite.
No, Electrumite can't come back. They chose Astrograph. They had a choice. It was either Electrumite or Astrograph, and they chose Astrograph. The other one is not coming back.
Between Astrograph and Electrumite, Astrograph won the parole hearing, and
exactly.
Electrumite does too much.
Yep, too much for one card.
Yeah,
too much for one
Send it to
card.
hell.
Yeah.
But we can. I guess I'll play the devil's advocate here. We can argue that in Master Duel they have Electrumite. It doesn't really do that much.
They have Maxi.
There's more against Vomit decks.
We can't bring ourselves down to the level of Maxi gaming.
Yeah. Yeah, these two cards cannot be legal at the same time. Astrograph
Honestly?
and Electrumite is...
Honestly, like, there is a sentence, if you removed it from Electrumite, there is a world where this is a conversation. And that sentence is, if a pet card in your pendulum zone leaves the field, draw 1 card.
Yep.
I know you can only use this effect of like Electrumite once per turn is also a sentence, but why does it also have to give you more, like, too much for 1 card?
It's 3 effects of 1 card, it's 2 OP.
Doesn't it have a
Like-
soft once per turn on it or something stupid?
Yeah,
as well?
the first
I've heard of
effect is a
multiples.
soft-
Well, to be
first
honest, if
effect,
you
yeah.
bring Electrumite back, you bring it 1. You'll never bring it back more than 1.
Yeah, of course.
No.
If you did have a world, when it bring it back.
But he can stay in hell. It's fine.
But like the fact that it does a lot, it does so much already, and then also gives you another card. Which, let's be real, you're getting that other.
Well, I'm gonna be
Like,
honest here. It's probably never coming back, so we can just
Yeah.
move on from it
It's
and we
too
can just
much.
leave it
Too
back.
much.
Let's talk about a funny card. Miscellaneous Swords. Do we want this
That
card?
one, I hate that deck.
Get fucked.
This is my most hated deck ever. I hate it.
Unchanged or banned. I'm a
But-
fan of like having to burn a search
A
on it.
a card that just lets you ignore like your opponent it does too
Card,
much.
yeah. Like you might as well just put your hand up. You just start playing. You put your hand straight up across your opponent's face. You just get no, and then they're like, "Sorry, I'd like to no."
When
But
the
I'd like-
structure when the structure came out, I actually burst so many dinos, and every time they'd resolve misc, I just start like looking on my phone because I literally can't interact with
The
their
thing
board.
is, Konami
What
is
about
printing a
that?
lot more cards now that promote uninteractivity. So we have the
Yeah, I know.
field spell, which is Tempai's are unaffected during main. You have the Gimmick Puppet field spell, which does the same thing, right? This card promotes uninteractivity, and the thing is, similar to the diagram reasoning that I had, right? The bringing these cards back is okay because it's making a rogue deck a little bit better, and we love hype around rogue. Dino is not going to compete with 3 misc, I promise. It does. It's just like Pendulum. It's just a vomit deck. Giving them an extra, like, obviously misc is a lot better than Kirin in this argument, but the thing is that like, even if you give them a card like this back, it's not going to be tiered. The deck just doesn't do enough anymore, right?
This is
I actually
Like,
disagree
this
with that. I think
so-
Miscellaneous actually carries that deck.
It carries
no way
dinos
that's
so
true.
hard.
Misc is so busted.
Yeah, maybe the card
It
is that good. Uninteractivity.
it is.
though,
I
is-
understand
It
with the
was-
Kirin. I definitely understand the Kirin aspect, but Miss, bro, I'm telling you, there were Dino South American players that have been waiting for this moment, and then waiting it for now. They will bring
I know
their
who you're
little
talking
Miss
about.
Dinosaur deck on their McDonald's tray, and they'll be happy pets because they will come back and they'll be like, wow,
Wasn't it-
this is at free, and they're gonna kill everybody because you can't respond anything in the main phase. You have to wait in the battle phase, and it's kind of
Was,
degenerate.
Literally him.
What,
He's so OP.
was it late
Now we have the ban
2021?
on search on him.
Was
Imagine
it-
how broken it is if you can search anything else and you just have misc already.
Was it
Yeah.
late 2021 or 2022 when it went back to 3?
As 2021, I believe, with Mystic Mine at free, and
Yeah, and
it was the worst deck diverse.
Yeah, and like Dino went from irrelevant to all of a sudden Misc is at 3, and it's a very real deck again.
It was tier 1. Yep.
Yeah, it was tier 1. Yeah.
Let's
I
be-
know,
let's
I
be real.
absolutely hated that deck.
Let's be real.
Imagine
We
if you
can't
got to run
support
out
a
the scraps.
we can't
God.
support a deck that has you killing babies. That's
Yeah.
just messed up.
Nah, I think Mystic should stay where it is. But I don't think it'll... It's terrifying, but I don't know if it'll do a lot at 3. I don't know. Probably just messing
You
with
can't put
one,
this card to
right?
3 no matter what. There's no way. No reality.
Well,
this
since
card's going
since
to
we're talking about like field spells and stuff, let's talk about terraforming. Do we want this card banned? I want it banned.
Yeah.
I feel like
I mean,
there's an argument
It,
for it.
much.
it was very busted in TOS format when you had 3 diagram and 2 terraforming.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
I
Rest in
don't
peace.
think they got like. I 100% don't think they're going to address it on this ban list. In general, do I think this is a card which could instantly just be like the. So how'd you lose your game? Well, opponent had terraforming, and that's the whole set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Field spells
Like-
are too strong. It's not a problem with the terraforming itself, it's a problem with field spells.
It's
Right.
just another copy of a field spell.
It's
So it's gotta
incredible. Think about the math behind this, right? Let's look at Cash. It's a good example. A deck with a small engine that needed to see a field like a starter to get going. This is just an extra card in your deck, right? It's an extra way to see your engine. That's broken. That's insane for decks like that. Small engine decks that can play these cards that get you somewhere are just insane. There is definitely an argument for this card to be banned. There's just too many good field spells in the game now.
They probably won't ban it though because it's got an ulti starlight and QCR, but it should be banned. It's wishlisted.
Yeah, I think it should be banned.
Let's talk about prosperity, guys. What do we think of this card?
Fine.
One. Decks can have a little consistency.
Yes, I agree. I think this makes, again, the Kashtira argument with terraforming, it makes decks like Kashtira, which are innately bricky, just way too consistent, because now you have a way to dig through 6 cards. It's just insane.
But
I
is
think
it is it good in Snake Eyes though?
No, not really. You can play
It's
it.
wishlist, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is wishlist territory where
Yeah.
instantly the meta can change because of a set release or because of just things on the ban list, and prosperity could instantly come back to being like it was in cash format, where it's just like, well, my opponent got to pick a fucking card and that was it.
Yep, it's insanely sacky. And
Bro,
like,
build your hand.
the thing is, right, and it made decks like Unchained. It made a deck that had like 4 main deck bricks, 4 to 6 main deck bricks, completely playable. Because it was just, okay, my hand sucks. Prosperity. Okay, there's the extra piece I needed for my 2-card combo. Now you're dead. It's just terrible. It sculpts your hand way too well, right? The card gets you what you want.
Specifically, let's throw back to cash format where it was they go terraforming and prosper, and you're like, ah, well, yeah,
Yeah,
you
cool.
got
I
it,
lost
buddy.
the game. Oh, and then they drop Shifter on that as well, so you can't droll them. It's incredible. Just the hand sculpting is just too good.
Let's talk about Shifter actually while we're on that subject. Do we want this card banned or leave it at free?
Leave it.
I think leave it. I've lost
Probably
this
leave it.
card. I've lost this card more times than I can count, but I don't think banning it is a good idea, at least right now. If they plan on hitting Snake Eye a little bit more, I think there is an argument to maybe banning it, but it is a very good check, and it also is a very good road card. It's a very good budget card, right? You can pull up to an event
Yeah.
right now playing a $1,000 deck or a $30 deck playing the most broken staple in the game.
Free.
That's fine. Yeah.
The
just play
birds
Flu.
want to have a word with you.
Like-
exactly right.
we
and
put
that's
this
fine.
card and draw in the same bubble where the words necessary evil are the only ways to explain it. We're like, okay, I'm gonna tell the story of today. I'm last round of locals, undefeated versus the other undefeated. Game 3, he dropped Shifter. I looked at my hand. Well, it was draw phase. I go, proceed to standby. He goes, hold up. Shifter. I looked at my hand and I went, cool. There's literally nothing I can do right now because my hand is the kind of hand where there's just nothing I can do.
Yeah, shout out to Eric. Despite God.
Shout out to Nathan Rosebud.
It is
No,
just
like,
genuinely.
He played well. So he played well. I'm not taking anything away from his gameplay, but gameplay was legitimately, I got shifted. I didn't do a goddamn thing. But
It's-
like, I also had another game where I got shifted and ashed on branded fusion, and I did play. So like,
It's more of a branded thing than a shifter thing. But I
it's
think
more, yeah, correct. But I mean, like,
the thing with shifter,
is it a good feeling? No. But even after having that happen to me, would I want shifter banned? Nah, it needs to be around.
the
Control
real
needs to
problem
be
with
around.
shifter, the real problem is the decks that literally don't care about it. Like I'm talking ritual beast, or flu.
Well, you
decks
can't
that
really
can
say
just-
which will be one now, but yeah, that's a future problem.
in the future, right?
Yeah.
Like these decks that can literally just do their entire game plan and then you're floodgated. It's incredible.
Pretty much the only 3 decks that can do that is through Cashew
Cash.
and Vanquish Hole.
Yeah,
I mean, there's other
In the
things
future,
like
there'll
real.
be Tempai and Ritual Beast too.
Yeah.
And Centurion
yeah.
to an
which are
extent.
very scary decks. And like the thing is, like having this card legal could be a bad idea because it just makes those decks even better than what they should be. But I also think it's a bad idea because it is a necessary evil in a way that it keeps a lot of players in the game because they can play cheap decks and they can abuse a broken staple. And it also checks a lot of these very strong decks that need good ways to play around it, right? So I think it is a necessary evil at 3, but I would like the card banned. I really dislike this card, but that's just personal preference.
I guess since we're talking about Shifter, we gotta mention through. What about Featherstorm?
Get the fuck out of here.
Oh,
Should
get
be
it out of
banned,
here.
should be banned, but won't get hit. No
I'm
point.
gonna play. Shall I play Devil's Advocate?
Yeah, go for
You're
it.
not.
No.
Well, you're gonna act like you're a Harpies player.
What happens to the Harpy players when this card goes?
Shut the flying. No. Okay. So, what about it at 1? The argument
You can trust
being
for it, no.
thrust for it. Come on.
Kusaki. You need to look at the card out in like a vacuum. You need to look at it outside of thrust just by itself, right? If you
Is
put this,
is Flu doing enough at all right? Let alone, like, yes, it exists. Yes, it does a thing. Yes, it's a cheap deck. So it's a cheap entry point for people to get into the game, I guess. But if they're playing Thrust, I suppose it's not the cheapest of options. But, like...
Well, the cheap option would be
Is-
Trap Trick, right?
yeah,
sort of.
but, like, you need multiples for that one. So I guess...
Well,
Is
that's
that
why,
argument,
yeah, if
like-
you have it at 1, it's not the worst thing in the world, right?
But honestly, if I don't play hand traps against the Flu player and they don't have access to get to the Featherstorm, and they hard drew the 1, like, okay, cool, but that's like part of Konami's like way of building these sorts of decks up. They like things being at 1 that are sometimes silly. Peekaboo rivalry goes in, skill drain for a while, not right now. But like, is it at 1? Like, and they draw the 1 off, it's just like, he made him pin it at the 1 off. He's gotta throw myself off
Sort
a
of.
bridge.
We banned a pointer because of Thrust as well, just reminding you.
I
Yeah, but that but a pointer look.
I genuinely
But a
think this
pointer
card
is
doesn't go anywhere.
the information of a pointer.
Yeah, a pointer
No.
gave hand knowledge.
The amount of times where it's like, oh yeah, I interrupt a Flu player, and it actually stops his turn in Asterisk, but then he sets a card, and it's Featherstorm, and then it's like, oh great, I just lose anyways, I've never had a chance.
In terms of card
Like,
game
nah.
mechanics, it's a pointer is a better card, obviously. Hand knowledge is insane, but skipping a turn in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, not card game terms, is just better. You skip
What?
their turn.
What hand trap did I use that they thrusted into this that like
Ash would be
didn't
the
help
common one.
me?
Uh,
Yeah, but that's what
Halo,
I'm saying. If I
no.
ash them, is it
Roll.
not like, am I not hurting them as well? Like, are we not gaming?
Oh,
Am I
of
getting
course,
OTK'd
yeah.
by Flu?
Yeah, no, you're never getting OTK, but I think the problem is like, I don't think Featherstorm's more of the problem. I think more Fuss is the problem with that analogy, right? But let's say, okay, here's a world where they do hard draw their Featherstorm, right? You're not winning that game because they're going to rise up, put it at the top of the deck and keep drawing it because they can literally draw it off the unspoiled wins. That's where I think it's a bit busted. I think having it at 1 doesn't matter if it's at 3 because it's the same thing. They're literally always going to try and dig for it. With prosperity, pot of duality, they've got so many pots that go through so many of the cards. So I think if you wanted to get rid of this card, you have to ban it. You can't put it at 1. Has to
It's
go.
either,
It's either ban or free.
But the thing is,
I don't think
like
they
I
will address
said,
it though.
I'd play I'd play the devil's advocate here, just so to open up a discussion. If you ask me what I want, put it on the ban list right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
fair.
I don't think they will though, because I don't think Fu does enough.
I agree. I think the card is
Look,
a.
uh-oh.
Well, that's kind of the identity of the deck, right? The identity of the deck is a blowout deck. You're playing these really stupid cards that just win you the game on the spot. And that's the identity. That is a genuine deck archetype in a card game. And that's fine, right? But it's just... The big thing with this card is it just... In Yu-Gi-Oh terms, it's just way too fucking good. But it's not the right time to hit this card. I feel like Flu's already been neutered enough. They don't really need to do much more to hit this deck. I think it's okay.
I guess,
I'd be wrong.
I guess let's talk about Fast while we're talking about Featherstorm. Does
I think it's fine.
this card need to go?
No.
No,
I think
not a
it's-
ban at least, but
It's warped the game so much to the point where I don't think it can go, and it's a very healthy warping as well. It's kind of like Super Poly, but way healthier. It promotes really interesting interaction where you need to play around these talents cards. Like, again, Kashtira format comes into mind, right? Needing to play around these like big threatening cards. That's a lot of skill, and it's a very big awareness of the game. I find that quite enjoyable. I think it's like a really fun way to play the game, right? But I think banning Thrust or like limiting it or something, it just ruins this whole deck dynamic of, oh, okay, I'm going to play board breakers, and now I have more consistent board breakers or more consistent engine options, right? It ruins that a lot, and it just kind of neuters deck building. So I don't really think this card should go anywhere. I think it being at 3 forever is completely fine.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of fine with it as well. I would
Yeah.
like it to be a little bit less broad, but I'm not dissatisfied with where it's at.
I kind of agree with that, though. Its application is massive, which is kind of a problem.
I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, but I want you to just use your imagination for a second. I want you to picture walking out on the street. There's fires everywhere. There's glass being shattered. There's raiding. There's pillaging. There's looting. You know, people are burning down the churches. People are throwing their babies off the buildings. We're like, what's happening? What's happening? You ask someone on the street, what's gone wrong? They go, Konami banned Thrust. We're all angry. We're burning everything. They've
Can't ban
wasted
that
our
card.
money.
The only reason
Can't
I'd
happen.
Don't
want
worry, dude. Rarity Collection, it won't be banned now. Rarity Collection first, dude.
the only reason
Oh.
I'd want to see it hit is so I don't have to buy 3 copies.
I just finished the set. Please don't make it happen. But like on a side note, it's just not gonna happen. It's like now
Yeah,
part of the
yeah.
game. It's now
Yeah.
too much of like the game in its current state. It creates lots of interesting options, makes the world where hand traps happen less brutal.
It's
Like-
warped the game so much, but it's warped it in a healthy way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
It's got
agree on
people
that one.
thinking, cooking.
I can also play a bit of devil's advocate because I think, like I said with my YCS list, I think Fast is one of the most broken cards in the game. If you know how to use this card, man, it's like completely messed up. Yeah, I understand you have to get hand trap to use it and it's blah blah blah. But think about it as a board breaking accessibility, right? You can grab any spell, normal spell or normal trap, right? Anything, right? Today, I'll talk about today because it's the prime example of Frost, for my opinion, right? I opened a hand of Frost, Stake Your Soul, I think of Rasen in my hand, and I open another Frost, and I open Impo. Okay, that's my hand. I'm going into a 9 negate Dragonwing board. Okay? Normally, let's say the Dragonwing play did optimally stop me. Frost doesn't do anything. But since he didn't optimally stop me, I actually frosted for evenly and evenly him for 8. Right?
Holy.
Think about that. And then on the clapback, he couldn't kill me because I just made a Typhon and just sat on it because
Thing
it's
is-
a bit hard. Let me finish. I got you. I let you talk, mate. All right. Let me finish. All right. He made Baron. Because he little knight, he savage away. He brought it back, and then he had to attack over my Typhon. I wasn't dead, right? On the clapback, right? I top deck like another Rasen. Doesn't do anything for me. Let's be honest here, right? I normal summon it. He uses Baron negate on it because that's his only negate he had. Okay. I activated Frost, right? I grabbed Talents. Since he used Baron on the main phase, I'm going to use Talent on his Bow and Dragon because he made the wrong decision, right? I Bow and Dragon and attacked his whole board and killed him in that same turn. Because of Frost being a card. Do I win that game without Frost? Hell no. I am not winning that game. But I know you can say that with a lot of other cards. You can say, oh, well, I have double evil and win. But the fact that Frost can grab any card you want at any time, as long as they activate... You gotta remember, Frost is a bit different to Talents. Frost is any time someone's activated a monster effect. It doesn't matter if it's short phase, standby phase, main phase, end phase, or whatever, right? As long as you can activate Frost in the main phase, obviously, because you can't activate on the main phase, end phase. I think it's healthy right now, but this card's got bad written all over it. Once cards get better over time, which normally Yu-Gi-Oh does get better over time, more broken cards always.
Power creep,
right? Frost just gets better and better and better.
I mean, realistically, how much better do you get than what we currently have? Plus,
dude, you can get, trust me, you can get a lot better.
I mean, let's look at the scenario you said, right? You're saying evenly matched and talents is what won you that game. Now, I understand thrust is what got you to those cards, and getting to those cards is important, because if you don't get to them, then how are you ever going to break the board? How are you ever going to use them? But the thing is that the board breakers in the game, normal spells, normal traps, these kind of things, are already so high, and their usage is not really at a premium, or at least it wasn't before Thrust, right? They have niche applications, or like they see it plays in playsets, right? But you apply Thrust to your deck, and it's like you can play multiples of these cards now. You can play 3 of this, 3 of this, 3 of this, all normal spells, and you get access to all of them because of Thrust. I think giving them more consistency and being able to have more copies of cards that you need to win you the game is actually quite skillful and requires like more intricate deck building, right? I don't think like punishing someone for having good deck building and understanding what cards are going to win them a matchup is a very good like way to hit a card on a board.
Okay, I'll hit you another one, right? Let's get Mystic Mind format again, right? I activate Frost, get terraforming, and activate Mystic Mind. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, mine's not legal, but like...
No, I'm just saying because... It's not because of mine, it's because of terraforming being a normal spell card, which should be banned in my opinion because of Frost. That's the reasoning I would give, because you can't use Frost to get a field spell, right? Because it's a field spell. But the fact that terraforming is still around, it gives you that enableability. I think cards...
The man's got a point.
Cards that...
Yeah, I thought about terraforming a lot.
Yeah, cards that enable Frost are the problems, not Frost itself. So yeah, you can say, well, even in Talents won me the game. But Frost got me those cards. I can't get those cards if I don't activate Frost. You know what I mean?
Would you be playing those cards if you didn't have Thrust in the first place?
Well,
Probably.
I'd be playing Change Your Heart. I'd be playing other broken spell cards.
But you have more incentive.
Engage, right?
I'll give
I can get engaged.
I'll give a specific example to Mr. Vanquish Soul over here. I've played against him beforehand, monster affected, and he's thrusted for Roto.
Or Sacred Soul.
Yeah, like he's just thrusted into ways to get to Razen, which have then just, hurt my day.
So Frost does have a utility depending on your deck, like you said. You base your deck on it, and you fix it up. And also, frosting into a D-barrier for the branded player is always a nightmare, right?
Yep.
So it does has its fair and unfairness, but it won't be banned.
It's whole access to the toolbox, and the different tools we use are important. Like sometimes the screwdriver is the best option. Sometimes, a hammer is the best option. Sometimes we want a gun. Like
this card gives you
the best tool for the circumstance.
It's similar to SP in my opinion. It's a necessary evil.
And like the more knowledgeable players are going to delay their monster effects if possible to try to play around it, and then force you to do other things before you go to the thrust, limiting some of the options that you might be able to have off it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I played against someone today that knew that if I resolved my thrust, that it was going to be a bad time for them. They chained and got rid of their own monster, which now I have to set a card instead. And it was actually a good heads up play. A
relevant example, right, is do people shotgun the flamberge? It's very simple stuff like that I think makes it less nice. It's a solid card. There's there's ways to play around it.
Oh, dude, shotgun flamberge dragon response thrust is
into evening, which I did at the YCS, which is quite brutal.
For sure.
Yeah. The card's good, but I feel like it's necessary.
Yeah, it won't get hit. Don't worry, I completely agree it won't get hit, but it's definitely a card it could get on the ban list eventually, yeah.
It's like a terraforming thing.
Alright, let's
You know,
talk
things
about the
down
next
track.
card, since we've been on fast for a while. Let's talk about Heavy Storm. Do you think it's ever coming back?
As
Not
a
that's
gonna
fine.
happen.
As
Not
a-
gonna happen.
It'll come back.
as a trap enjoyer, yeah, why not? Let's bring it back. I need more reasons to play Waking the Dragon.
Okay, so here's the thing. Why is harp is legal and is disbanded? Because I can combo with it. Really?
No,
Oh, you're
okay.
bringing
So
this
do you
up.
want do you want to remember the real reason was? It wasn't because you could combo with it. It's
All right, let us
I'm
know,
going to
Judgment.
I'm going to flip. No, it's not judgment. It's old man. I'm
Yeah,
going to
no.
flip up my floodgates, right? I'm going to fucking sit here under skill drain, knowing you can't out it until I'm ready to play and out it. I draw
Yeah,
my heavy storm. I
Pretty
windmill
much.
slam. I windmill slam that shit. I give you a cheeky grin, and I proceed to murder you.
But doesn't
Wow,
that
what's the
also
old
mean
man?
your
He's
opponent
about
has the option to
simple
play heavy
spell
storm?
Snake Eye.
Yes, that's
I guess you're the one in
that's the
control.
problem with Heavy Storm,
It does.
right?
Cool. And now it's a territory of like what you're playing the heavy storm, expecting me to have this set up. Like then it becomes who draws it first.
Yeah, but that game is already like that, right?
Yeah, but is this
Like-
the game you want to live in?
No,
It's not
but like,
though,
but I mean, it's not necessarily in like whoever draws it first wins. It's just more if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't, and you lose,
we're
right?
in the future. The
Yeah.
floodgate argument doesn't hold. They're all at 1, and you can send them off with droplet or like original anyways.
The really good point is, and this is what James is saying, is if you have the choice to turn off the floodgate, then it's OP. If you're the one if you're the one in power and you're the one with the floodgates face up, then it's OP, and that's why heavy is good. But at the same time, your opponent can also play it. I feel like that's enough reason to be like, okay, maybe this isn't as demanding as you think it can be when it comes to playing with floodgates.
Look,
Like-
do I think this specific set of cards is busted as it was for when they finally took Heavy Storm away from the play? No. The modern game is very different to where it was a while ago. But like, is that like part of the card design philosophy and like the logic of why that's gone? Yes. Like, can the players be trusted?
No. I think the reason why I'll jump in here to give my little 2 cents. I think the reason why Heavy Storm's a bit more busted than Feather Duster is for one, James brought up the best example. That reason being is you can play under your floodgate, and then when you can't play, I'll play and kill you. Another example of this is I flip anti-spell on you. I post set my Heavy Storm. You set all your spells because sometimes you play a spell deck, and you get Heavy Stormed. And you just kill them with your spells you held in your hand. That's an actual legitimate play that people used to do in OCG. Because obviously when you set your anti-spell them, they set all their spells. You heavy storm. You actually hold your spells. You don't set them because you know you're going to heavy storm them. The only way you can counter this is like a judgment or like a card that stops the spell card, right? That's a legit play. That was a proper play. I guess another example is like if Artifact Cypher's still illegal, you can heavy storm. They try heavy storm you, the opponent, and they hit the Cypher and they can't play, right? There's a lot of applications that Storm does more than Feather Duster does. That's why I think this card will not come back.
That's fair. I think the floodgate protection stuff, I overlooked that. I think that's quite strong. But I still think both people being able to have it is good. But that's my opinion, of course.
It essentially perpetuates the same issue that Vanity's Emptiness also gave. Like, you just flip it up on your opponent's turn and then just turn it off whenever you want.
Yep.
It's the same problem.
Well, speaking of floodgates, we'll talk about skill drain. Do we think this card needs to be changed?
Maybe a
But-
3.
Put it to 1. I love myself skill drain. I love simplified game states, but just
There's a
put it
million
to
ways
1.
to play around this thing.
Yeah,
After
but,
yourself won the
but
war.
just put it to 1.
It's genuinely the thing is you do have ways to play around it, but like a good player won't just drop skill drain against you, like, or just monkey flip it and just like let you try and play around it. They'll just drop it on you when you can't play around it, right? Like they'll wait to use Ash Effect as an example. If you're playing Snake Eye, they wait for you to use Ash Effect because Ash Effect dodges skill drain. They go Ash Effect, right? Then you drop it. Then they're fucked. They actually can't play. Sure, they can do like a bunch of like big beaters and whatever. If your board's already established, then you have bigger beaters, then you're fine, right? You just win the
Little
game.
Knight kind of makes it hard to like time it well though, because at any point if they have the ability to make Little Knight, that just kind of wrecks your
That's a good
Mm.
point. They
Rest
can
the
convert
skill
straight
game.
into it, but like that's if they blind
Maybe
make
3 is
it.
a bit much, hey. I think 1 is would put it with the other
I
floodgates.
think 1, yeah, it's more in line with other floodgates.
Yeah,
sure.
let her join its floodgate friends.
Yeah.
How many games have you played where it's just flip skill drain and you're just sitting there and you're just passing back and forward? It's just like,
Yeah,
this is some great gameplay. Let me. Ooh.
Only the ones where
Fantastic
I have
gaming.
Messenger Peace as well.
But that's a lot of floodgates, right?
For sure. But like, wish list.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I don't think
wish
they're
list.
I don't think they're touching it. But like,
Nah, neither.
And talking about like little floodgates, like time still, I think they can bring that to 3. Can we all agree on that one? Yeah, that
Yeah,
card's
nobody cares
not.
about that.
That card's
Yep,
Not
no
real
floodgates
anymore.
needed.
let me just set my one. Let me just set my 1-for-1 trade.
And I guess we can talk about real quick to side damage, but
Eradicator too, right?
we can, yeah, let's talk about Eradicator. But I was actually going to talk about Blaster because I don't even know why this. See, I think this card doesn't really do much anymore.
It's
I mean,
taking
if
it
we're gonna do anything with the rulers, they'll probably move Tempest first, just because it's the weakest of the
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
I'll leave it
Or-
unchanged.
Or if they're feeling frisky, they'll bring Tidal back.
They'll
the-
most likely put all the rulers to 1 and just
Yeah, let's
be happy.
let's when we talk about Blaster, let's have that be indicative of all the rules. I think you
Blast-
could put all the rulers to 3, except Tidal, because that one
Mm-hmm. It's by far
strongest
the-
effect
Yeah.
and the particular attribute that it is causes a little bit of problem.
Just a free
But-
foolish burial, it's too broken.
Also, it's water.
In waters too.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah, and water, yeah. Like Blaster, Redox, and Tempest are the decency to not be good attributes. Oh, except for
But-
fire, I guess, but that's only
Why is
recent.
only good now?
Yeah.
Let's look at all their effects individually, like their not the summon, because they're all just bodies of attributes, whatever. So it's like Searcher. Searching is always good, but like Tempest is the weakest of the dragon rulers. Monster Reborn is like, there's so many Monster Reborn effects in the game, and Monster Reborn itself doesn't particularly seem egregiously broken, right?
Yeah.
What's the other one? Oh, Blaster, Popper card. There's so many Popper cards, especially
Yeah.
in Fire too.
Yeah, true.
Foolish Burial. I'm a big fan of Foolish Burial, as mentioned before.
Can't go back.
Fucking nuts. If Foolish Burial went to 3 in the next ban list, the sky would fall, pigs would fly,
Look,
you know, babies would be tipping their mothers out of the windows. Like, just the world go upside down.
I genuinely think Blaster can come back to 3, nothing happens, but I don't think they'll do it because they just want to keep all the dragon rulers in the same place, which is fair.
Yeah, I'll remain them
Yeah.
on touch.
Yeah, don't trickle them out.
We're more likely to see Tidal come back before they put another one to 2.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Eradicator Virus. What do you think this card should be at?
And
You need to 3 or bend.
the thing
But-
is, I always look at these cards, a very short explanation, I won't yap, don't worry. The thing is with these cards, the way I look at it is, if you're in a situation where you're already going to win the game anyway, and the card just won you the game, then whatever. But this card is literally just, like, Welcome Labyrinth is this card. I mean, a little bit more, obviously. But, like, such little setup, such massive impact, but, like, nothing. It's crazy. Plus, it's a side deckable card. It's not just a Labyrinth card. Any deck that can play a 2500 or higher Dark just gets access to look at your opponent's hand, rip all their spells, which are arguably, like, the strongest card type. Right now, at least, like, just insane.
They probably will always be.
Just too good.
I think they won't change it, in my honest opinion. Like, it's just not doing anything right now. Is it a problem card in the future? Yeah, it's a very problematic card in the future. But as I see it right now, no, I haven't seen Eradicator since like cashier format. Literally, I have not seen anyone play Virus at all.
The issue with decks with like lab playing it is that like, yeah, it can set it, but the problem is that it's also telegraphed.
Yeah,
Like,
like, that's a
yeah.
good point as well. And also, there's the other thing to keep in mind is like it's only really a Labyrinth card. And why would we be nerfing Labyrinth right now?
Can I argue
detail.
wish list?
Yeah, I'd say wish list.
I flipped the EV on a cash player today, and the only way to explain it is as soon as I flip it up, the only the EV catchphrase might as well be "fuck, I'm the best."
It might pre-ban
Like-
it, I feel.
Like,
Essentially.
yeah, I think, hopefully, I love
Yeah,
that.
because
I-
when Snake Eyes goes lab
I'm a
at the top,
big-
right?
I'm a big fan of EV.
Hell
Same
no.
situation with Super Poly. When I came back to the game and found out EV was at 3, I'm like, really?
Yeah, it was
That's
at 1. It
3.
was at 1 for a very long time.
Dude,
Yeah.
gross.
I guess since we're talking about Big Welcome,
Alright,
that's why
alright,
here too.
I have a lot to say about this.
Oh yeah, go for it.
If you're the kind of person that thinks that labyrinth, like at least the archetype of labyrinth should be hit, you are delusional and you hate trap decks for the sake that you hate them. Name one thing that labyrinth in archetype does that's unfair.
5 things off of a chain link. Of a trap activation.
When your opponent's monster leaves the field via a trap card effect. Colon.
Okay, but
That's it.
okay, but do we also want to talk about that furniture initially makes you neg an advantage in order to try and make it up later? Like,
Yeah,
surely
it's similar to Sky Striker, right?
it had, you know, like, it's wild because the furnitures are amazing, but they also have this concept that a lot of cards don't get, which is called the downside potentially of losing card advantage to try and get it back. Like, and sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you discard the furniture and it just, your trap gets stopped and you just never get that advantage. Like,
Well, I have good
that
news
is
for
a
you,
card back.
Damo, because Big Welcome actually has a grave effect.
Yeah. Okay, and you can't use
Which
it.
also removes the card and lets you re-trigger everything.
Yep, and you have to wait a turn to use it again.
That is
It's-
true.
No, if you use transaction rollback.
Yeah. Okay, and regarding rollback, like, Labyrinth is once again the only deck that can take advantage of it. The setting its effect when it's set sucks. Its only good effect is when it's in the graveyard, because unless you are in the very rare trap deck mirror match, its on-field effect is completely useless.
Yeah, look, I mean, I genuinely, I can't remember the other formats that have Big Welcome hit. I think OCG has a 2 or 1. and I don't think Monsters has the same.
But once again, that's just because OCG favors, like,
A slower deck.
yeah, it
Or
favors a slower deck. It's the same.
Or Beatrice. You know?
Can I
Yeah.
can I comment on rollback specifically from a different perspective?
Yeah, go for it,
Not as a-
James.
Perspective.
Not as a player, but as a judge.
Oh yeah.
Fuck transaction rollback.
That's the head
Not be-
judge. If you can roll
not-
back X card.
Not because it's impossible to give rulings on, not because it is a card I can't comprehend. I can understand. I can make effective rulings on it and understand how the card works and interacts with cards you can and can't use it on. Problem is, and I'll give a specific example, the regional that I judged I head judged a regional after rollback had just come out, and before the regional started, I think I spent maybe about 40 minutes talking to various different people about rollback specific. Therefore, and at every event I've judged since, I've been asked questions about rollback because the players, it's just like,
It's just one of those cards.
can I do it
man.
on this card? Why can't I do it on this card? But this card says this, so are you sure? Can you confirm with, like, just headache, just a headache, and I don't mind dealing with. And obviously, in the capacity of a judge, I'm going to answer these questions and deal with it, you know, fairly and appropriately. But like, ugh, just
Headache cards are definitely targetable.
brother,
regardless as
brother.
well. Yeah, headache cards are targetable. You got to keep that in
Just
mind
bad
as well,
design.
right?
I think our rollback won't be hit right now, but it's very.
No.
I definitely think it's a problem card in the future. If they ever print like another, let's say in the future they print another deck like Lab in a similar sense,
Hey,
then we don't know the future obviously, but it's one of those cards I can definitely see be like, well, it's banned because it really causes 100 different rulings, like Kaiser Coliseum, and not because it's really super duper broken. But it's very frustrating to have to answer a question for half an hour trying to figure out if this card actually does this or not. And I don't think that's promoting great tournament play or like gameplay. But I think right now, since it's only good for one deck, it's fine. It's completely fine. Like Labyrinth needs this card to even consider a play.
Yeah, you're all a bunch of Labyrinth haters.
No, I think it's fine. It's all fine. But the next problem I'm going to talk about is heatwave.
Unchanged. But wait till they release all the Tempai cards in secret, and then they have to hit something.
Yeah,
Well,
they won't hit it yet.
That's actually a really good point. I feel like they're going to let the deck go because then they're going to want a problem card that isn't a Tempai card to ban to make everyone happy. They're going to do this one. Right? Because they don't want any of their expensive cards to get hit. So they're going to nerf some dumb old 10, 20-year-old common. Right? So for marketing reasons, probably not going to get hit. But genuinely,
It's a rare.
I think it should get hit. Oh, it's a rare?
Yeah.
There you go. It should get hit a little bit before Tempai comes out.
From the infamous Starstrike Brass. I just want to put that out
yeah.
there.
By the way,
Man, that set just keeps committing war crimes.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. My opinion is it'll be wishless. I'm not sure if they ever play Amphibian, but in every OCG list, they have Heatwave. I'm not even joking. It's either in the side or the main deck. It's quite frustrating to deal with because Heatwave was used a while ago, like in some formats as a store card. It's basically essentially not as good as Cold Wave, obviously. It's a shittier version of it, but the fact that it does like a similar aspect, but just for I think it bought it for monster effects, that it's kind of one of those cards like, oh, I don't like where this is going. Like
Very, very unhealthy.
Yeah.
Gameplay.
So I think it's on the wish list for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think they're gonna do it right now, but it's one of those cards they're probably thinking about. Do I want this card to be in the format or not? Speaking of unhealthy cards, let's talk about Bishbalkin.
I don't even know why this
Bunnings.
card's still legal.
Bunnings. Make an extra tier and just call it Bunnings and put Bishbalkin in the Bunnings tier.
This
I
card,
think you're it.
I don't know why it's still legal.
Only ever used for moronic things. So just we all know it should be tossed. Will they do
Yeah.
it now? Who knows? But wishlist.
Take a long walk off a short pier.
You got any comment on this, Damo?
Makumek.
Huh?
He's gonna abuse it soon.
Fishbalkin? Any comment on it?
I've never encountered it, so I have ignorance on my side of not knowing what it's like.
I would just say that it's just an unhealthy FTK card.
Yeah.
Noise is about to run it, probably, right?
Yeah, so
ban it now or ban it when Noise
we'll put on a wish list. Let's talk about Runic Fountain. Do we think this card needs to be hit?
No, leave it
Oh,
at
no.
2.
It needs the help,
Le-
man.
le- leave it at 2. Nah, don't put it at 3. Fuck Runic, leave it at 2.
Put
It
it-
was a literal
put it-
nothing hit.
Put it 3, put tip to 1.
That would be
Ooh.
nice too, I think. But I think just for now, leave it. If Runic continues to be an issue, we can throw it out.
I'm
to
thinking-
1, and
I
then
feel
it'll be
like we should-
severely punishing for the Runic player if it gets outed.
Put it to 3, put tip to 1, ban terraforming. I'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Or
That's fine too.
honestly, I would just put Fountain on 1. Make it pretty fair. And then leave everything else.
I'll meet you in the middle, let's ban it.
I think it's kind of chill right now. We could wishlist it, but if it
I'm-
becomes a problem, then a tip
I
hit
don't
or a
know.
Fountain hit would probably be in
You guys are
order.
pretty mean towards Runic. I think there would have been times in the past where this hit would have happened. I don't think it's now though. Runic
Oh,
is
for sure it's
the last couple regionals I've been watching, or like the American ones, Runic Stun's starting to come up quite a bit. The last 7 regionals I've seen, out of the top 8, there's been 2 or 3 Runic Stuns.
Yeah,
That's a
Runic
symptom
Stun
of
is
like a
popular.
T0 format.
Yeah,
It's-
but there's as
That's
many.
me.
But in this format, there's been as many tops like Dogmaticus done in regionals. So
It's a stun thing.
Yeah, it's
It's
just,
a stun
I just
thing.
think
I think it's
Runic's,
the other cards, not this.
I think
Yeah.
Runic Fountain is one of the most broken field spells in the game too. Like
Oh,
the fact
for
that you
sure.
draw 3 cards after activating a searcher, a pop, another special summon pop. It's a bit rough.
I mean, also
But, like-
also keep in mind it turns on all your cards and makes them into hand traps. But I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I
Like,
think it should be
Stun
at
is
1.
like one of the,
Complete-
one
but,
of
like,
the, if not the most
hurting their
broken
access
field
to this card hurts the feel of the deck. It hurts the ability for the deck to embody its play style. I think tip is the problem. I'm just straight up putting it out there.
Yeah, but tip wouldn't be a thing if Fountain's not a thing, right?
I don't know about.
Yeah, but like if Fountain's not a thing, the deck's not a thing.
Yeah, that's
But
why
if
you should have it
Tip's
to
not-
1. I think it's quite fair because think about it, right? They got 1 access, they lose it, and that's the end of them, right? And it's quite fair.
And then they cosmic my
That's the
Fountain,
point of
and
the
I didn't
engine,
play the
right?
game.
The engine is supposed to be this crazy recursive engine that just keeps playing. I feel like if you hit something like that, it's a bit unfair towards a deck's identity, right? You don't really want to be hurting a deck's identity.
But that's what I mean.
I think I should be hurting every runic fucking identity. Fuck that deck.
That's why I feel like Fountain at 2 and Tip to 1, being honest, is
Maybe
the way
Fountain
to
1
go
too.
about things. I think Fountain is too much consistency, and often how many times is it Fountain into the other spell into grabbing a card, and then it's like, okay, now they've just set up 3 runics to draw 3, like, cool. If it's draw
Definitely,
2, then like, still annoying, but like,
Well,
it's
Tip
less
doesn't.
brutal.
Well, think
Tip
about
is
it.
engage.
Tip
It's
is
next level.
like engage, yeah, and also Tip's on. I think the problem is it's not just Tip; it's the fact that I have like I think how many
Yeah.
runic cards are there? There's 8 different versions of runic spells.
You usually play
Well,
17.
the only ones that matter are flashing, freezing, slumber, and destruction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you play a big engine of 20 in OCG. Okay, let's use because OCG is always the best example. I'm not talking about Maxi because Maxi does not affect this deck, but the fact that it's at 1 in OCG and it still does quite well, even though it's at 1, being a mixed engine, I think it can survive on 1, honestly. But I don't think it should be touched, honestly, right now. It's fine. But I can definitely see it be at 1. Yeah, if they really want to start hitting consistency, yeah, you hit Tip to 2 or 1. Or you hit the other ones, like, I think Swammer's a big problem too. The fact they can protect your monster is pretty good.
I mean, it's easily the least egregious of the good of runic spells.
Yeah.
I mean, I like protecting my big guy, right?
Yeah,
No.
but like,
The fact that they can slumber on the Hugin and then set up the Fountain is kind of annoying. But not gonna.
Yeah, I think Swammers are actually
When
a
they
lot
go
better
first.
than what you think.
I'm not saying it's like a bad card. It's very good.
Like, you can't flashing fire on turn 1 if you already have a Hugin, right? You know what I mean? Oh, unless you already use flashing fire as a special
Slumber
summon, right?
enables like the turn 1 draw as well.
Yeah. So I think hitting that after hitting Tip would be the next card they would consider hitting.
Yeah. But for now, I think we chill, right?
Yeah, we chill. Let's talk about Diviner. Do we think this card should be hit?
Yeah.
No.
I think
What?
I think
No.
if they're gonna hit a voiceless card, it's not Diviner. I think Diviner stays at 3 because it's not just the voiceless card. You got to keep in mind this is like the Armageddon Knight of Fairies, and
It'd be Armageddon Knight. I wonder what's that card at
Wow,
now?
wow. Foolish
True.
burial cards. They're like.
but this one's a
What a-
type, and Armageddon Knight's an attribute. Which
Well,
is
actually, I think Held's actually better at Forge because you can Forge your extra deck too.
And it has other effects.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
well,
tribute
it's
effect.
you summon, which is great. But it's like if you want to hit voiceless and you still want the deck to be playable, you just limit low.
I mean, let's be
Let's
real. You can't even beat voiceless, Joseph.
I don't want to talk about it. Like, if you limit low, it makes the deck a lot more interactive because it's more like now, okay, if you find a way to clear the low, now you have a better chance at fighting and trying to win the game.
Yeah,
Makes
but
the
that's
deck-
the money. That's the money card of
It
the
is
last
the
set that came out, and
it's
it just
$100,
like
dude. You can't do that.
look.
It's not gonna get
Divine. How many decks in recent memory can you think of where Divine has been like amazing?
Not
Every single one that's
Try,
written,
try.
really. And some of them are.
yeah, just Drytron, right?
Tearlament.
Tiamat?
Yes, dude.
It wasn't. Yeah, but it was eventually cut because it was just too slow. It didn't do enough.
But
Right.
like,
Depends on the
yeah.
build, actually. They had different
I don't know. I
builds.
think the timeline for that's fuzzy, right? Because like people loved it with elf and stuff, right?
Yeah, and you can make
yeah.
Beatrice too. That's quite good with the making it a 6.
I'm just gonna dump a Guido. Is that cool, buddy?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna use
Yeah.
my Diviner, which is now a 6 with a 4 to make Baron.
There is
Yes,
a real
people
chance.
moved away from those plays, but the fact that it had those options was
Yeah, true.
annoying at a point in time. And
Words are
like
good.
right now, I think Diviner is a card that is not a voiceless card, but is played in voiceless that can be hit because we don't want to necessarily well, I say we, but like an army doesn't want to hurt voiceless just yet, I don't think, but like Diviner is a bit problematic.
I think hitting it to 2 is actually like.
It's the kind of
might be
card that
fine.
can hit, that can hurt the deck, but also precautionary, measure for
Yeah.
other things, because it has had an annoying sequence of time in the game.
I think pushing it to 2 or 1 is pretty good.
I actually think Summoning Momentum is actually quite fair for this card.
A little bit.
Maybe, yeah, just a consistency hit. I could see it. I don't think it's ever the problem.
Just give it a
but-
smack on the wrist.
Yeah.
I think it's a fine card to have around, but yeah, I mean, that's what you guys think.
Let's talk about Unchained Red Dog.
Leave it at 1.
Not personal
Leave it.
bias. I promise I want it at 3. I promise you this is not bias.
Just leave
But
it
I
at 1.
promise you, you're wrong.
Yeah, no, the card can never be more than 1.
Labyrinth has a bad matchup into Unchained, so leave it at 1. I am very biased.
The card has
I
to
think
stay at
also you can play Unchained this Red Dog in Lab now because
Yeah, I
the
know.
fact that it's at 1.
There's just too much good fiend stuff coming out. This card is too splashable and too broken because you can search it off Yama. Yama is generic for fiends. It's just too good to have it
It
multiple.
dodges. So
Yeah,
it has
not
to
even
go.
just dodging, dude. It just does everything. In the Unchained combo, you would use 2 of this card because it was just that okay to use 2 of it. You would recur it back. Things like Rage, right? Like, it's just too OP. Having it at 1 is a little better because it means that way you can't summon it off an Unchained card, link away with it, then get it back, then use its hand effect. It's a lot harder to do that. You can do it, but it's hard. I think it's very balanced at 1. The card is way too OP to be at 3 with the new Fiend stuff coming out. So I think it'll stay at 1. I think it just deserves to be at 1. It won't.
Sometimes you'll just imp him, and then the imp him, it just does nothing. What
Yeah.
happened to it?
Or sometimes you just get infinitely looped with Yama, Rage, Shavara in a trap, and you can't do anything. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess.
Sometimes seeing this card, like multiple recursions, seeing multiple copies, just the way they play, made me want to go make toast in the bathtub.
Yep. It's insane. This card is insane. It's so
Yeah.
good.
I guess
Yeah,
we'll
can
talk about the next card. I think should just remain unchanged. Is Tailtop.
No, I
Three.
reckon I reckon I'll put it to 3. He's had a nice little hangout with Malicious in the semi-limited section.
It'll most likely come to 3. In my
Yeah,
I don't feel too strongly about this card, so
Yeah.
the semi-limited section is pretty much just for Malicious retirement home and cards visiting.
I think he actually- he-
so.
And here's my theory why you leave Tailtop where it is at 2. Because when you play 3, okay, you play this card called Attack and Top Book 2. That's your 4-card engine normally for rank 3 spam. If you leave it at 2, it's actually quite fair.
2 to 1 brick ratio. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just leaving it as it is fine because I guess the next card we'll talk about right afterwards is MT Invoker. If they do bring this card back, you don't want it at 3. If you bring that rank 3 back, because let's say they do release some Beast Warrior support, and let's be honest, they always do. I feel like every 2 to 3 years they release some really good Beast Warrior support, and I just feel like Tailtop is just. I think Tailtop's just going to hang out with Malicious for the rest of the time. Honestly, it's one of those cards you just never want to see at 3. You just want to leave it at like semi-limited.
I mean, yeah.
Just leave it
I
as it
guess.
is. It's fair.
I think like the brick ratio thing is a very good point, but I don't necessarily think they want to keep this card at 2. I don't think it's very fair to keep this card at 2 either. Like Invoker's banned. It's not. I feel like it's fine at 3.
I
feel like
think
it's fine.
Invoker might come back.
I mean, the
honestly.
thing is, Goblin Biker is a deck as well. Keep that in mind. Like, they might put it back because Goblin Biker, they want that deck to do something.
Also, I know a lot of people don't talk about this, but having Tailtop in an E-tail for any card, like Punk, it's actually quite broken.
Yeah. Like,
I know a lot of people haven't tested that, and I know Wizards do like majority of hand draws, but if you put Tailtop to 3, it's never been a healthy game when Tailtop was at 3. To be honest with you.
Whatever.
I know it's kind of whatever because no one plays it, and it's not because to be honest, in every deck it's in now, it's in a tier like 4 deck or tier 3 deck. But once it hits that like meta thing, I remember the saying in Zodiac format, "How'd you lose, man? Oh, he top deck Tailtop and full comboed me."
yep.
So you just don't want that kind of card to be a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
alright.
So we just leave it at 2. I think it's
I'm
fine.
convinced. Leave it at 2, yeah.
MC Evoker, I think they could just bring this card back. What about
Yeah, it
you
can be a
guys?
fun. It can be a fun.
Isolde is gone, so good things.
I'm I'm sad.
But like, let's be real, right? What am I getting off Hermix Saber Invoker? Like, am I summoning like Indomitable Fighter Lele, like a Big Shield Gardener, like a Celtic Guardian? Like, there's a 6M card that lets you search a different attribute, I think.
No, you
There's,
just
like,
you just summon the Zodiac card, dude. Literally.
Yeah, but like, yo,
Is that
they're doing
anything?
doing so well right now.
No, think
like-
about it, right? So in OCG, or Master Duel, I guess, you can go Enter Evoker, summon Wham, right? Then you make Charcanine, summon Wham back, and you can like keep going into like a big wing through. That's why it's okay to bring it back.
Yeah, I know. My thoughts exactly. Whoa!
I mean,
That's crazy,
Ring
dude.
3 is a pretty free. You make a princess for no reason.
The best card in the game can make 3 Link 3s off 1 card. I
You
don't.
can bring
I mean, that's what
Yeah,
Ink
I can come back.
That's what Terratop can do with Enclave Evoker, essentially. It can make a big, like, monster. You
He's
just
pretty
look.
chill though, right? Let's
Yeah,
Look,
I think he's
I think
chill.
the fear with MX Saber Invoker is there's some super secret hidden combo that we're not like that hasn't clicked yet.
no.
But like, yeah.
Well, I think the Beast Wars have been hit, like, a lot. Like, and also the fact that Tenki's Ephraim mean just tells you that Beast War isn't a real deck anymore.
This card can come back. To
Yeah,
1.
I'll
It's
put it at
one
1.
at Master Duel does absolutely
I mean,
nothing.
to be honest, you wouldn't even
Wait,
play
I think
more
that was
than
a
one
rare.
anyway, so I would just put it at unlimited, because when they bring it back, they normally just leave it out. Oh, well, actually, just leave it at 1, but you always played 1 in your deck. You never played more than 1,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Next card is Pranky Meow. You think this card coming back?
It can be a 3, the deck does nothing.
I'm tired of this deck. Like, let's keep it in like prison.
Hey, I like this deck a lot, and the thing is with this deck is even with Yalmu, it doesn't put up enough interaction, it doesn't do enough without cards like Verte, right? The reason why this deck was OP in the first place was because it had Verte, it had Brave, and then it had its own engine. Now Brave engine is power crept a lot, Verte is banned, this card can come back. The deck is
I
fine.
don't disagree. It can probably come back, but I don't want it to.
I don't want to have 3. I think keeping it at 1 just to keep it there.
The
That's
less
been fine.
points, the better.
good point.
Konami will do their thing and putting it back to 1 and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, the card is a lot more balanced at 1 than it is at multiples, so I think that's fine. But even still. Not
Alright,
biased at all, I
I
want
guess
to
the next card is, we love this card, is Core by the
My-
Grave.
My
Commander at 3.
my
Commander at 3.
my heart says 3. My brain says leave it at 1 or bin it.
It should be Bander at 3.
Yeah.
I don't think.
3 in our hearts, but banned or leave it.
Yeah, it's look having the
No.
card at 3 when we had it at 3 for so long was
Was
just
glorious.
It's stupid. It was it was just dumb.
You're wrong.
Try Ash my diagram or two.
You are wrong. You are simply wrong. We
And
put it to 2. Reasoning being, look at all the cards we have put on limited that haven't come off the ban list.
well, actually, Core by the Grave was at 2 for a while.
No,
Until it got
I
hit to
don't
1.
mean that. I don't mean that. I mean, we've got Ash, we've got Wanted, we've got Kirin, right? We clearly have an agenda against, Snake Eye, Fire King. Having the extra call by would help play against it.
I think she should just ban it. Honestly.
Nah, put that to 2.
No, I think it's banned. I think it.
No.
The problem with Core by the Grave is, as I said in previous formats, is it's like a maxi to me. It's literally like, how many times have you gone to a game where you go, hey man, how'd your game go? Ah man, I had everything, but he Core by the Grave my card, and I couldn't play.
How many
haven't
times
seen-
have I
haven't
got
seen-
Grand Infusion, got Ashed, and go, I have the Called by the Grave. Ah, fuck yeah.
Then you just win
That's
the game.
that's exactly the problem. You have one
Card
Core
is
by the Grave. You
way
can't.
too
You can't.
sacky.
Yeah, you can't make a deck go. Ah, damn! I have to really prepare for one Core by the Grave.
Also, isn't it just the
Yeah,
mark
but the
of, like,
counterpoint to
I
that
know
is
you can
there are
say
decks that
cross
lose-
out, but it's the same shit. Like
No, I
it's-
was gonna say decks that lose to one hand trap. It's like, oh well, I started playing and then he dropped a Droll and Lockbird. I started playing and I got shift.
no, actually,
Like
I
we live in the
disagree.
world where Droll and Lock and Dimension Shifter are necessary evils. We also need to live in the world where there are outs to them.
Sort of.
We do. We have crossout designator for it.
The cards are so strong that they need
Cool.
counters, which is just.
So I'm gonna
much
play the
more
crossout
important,
designator and the D shifter in my deck that doesn't want to play on the D shifter. Cool.
Yeah,
it's
good
the
luck.
mega. It's the mega garnet. It's not only the garnet. It's worse than garnet.
I mean, if your deck really loses hard to shift, yeah, you probably have to do it. Honestly.
Okay, Mr. Vanquish Soul Cash Tira.
No, it's not even that. Like, honestly, like that was the whole point. Like when I played Tears, right, I was even like considering like playing crossout and the shifter because of that. Because what can I do? Like if I don't draw Corbett at Grave and I get shifted, I pass on Bagusa.
The card just centralizes way too much of hand trap counterplay into itself to be at 1. I just think that's a very, like, it's just so.
Yeah, but okay,
warping.
think about the argument where we're talking one hand trap so that play. It's the same as saying, oh, but then they had the one called by it. Oh, but then they had the one.
But it's not just the
I
hand trap.
play.
It's like any monster. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
I
can
get
set
also-
you
yeah,
can set call by the grave and hit.
So much, to be honest.
Yeah, you can set call by. You don't even have to hit use on the hand trap. Let's say I know for Brandon it's like, oh yeah, shit, I need to stop the ash. But like there is like a world where sometimes you have the nuts that even if they do ash your Brandon Fish, you already have everything. You don't even care.
I could
But,
buy
like-
like some what's this player Saphira going second.
Dude, imagine
And
okay,
he's
imagine
lost.
call by the graving.
Yeah.
Here's the world, yeah. This does happen because it's tier 7 format. Call by the graving Flamberge. After you already
That's-
use your Flamberge. It's quite brutal. Right?
Yeah, that's
we
the
can both
world,
agree, yeah.
But that's exactly one of the reasons I would advocate for it, not against.
I against it because
We're
of that.
clearly, with this ban list we've established, identified that sort of a type of deck, particularly, is too powerful, correct? We even discussed the territory of potentially putting the flamberge on the list.
But
We
it's
put
not.
these
It's
other
not.
cards on the
But you
list.
can't just say Call by the Grave because of Flamberge. Call by the Grave can stop any popper monster. You think
course.
about it.
Yeah,
I'm not.
0-0.
I'm not just saying because of Snake Eyes. I just use Flamberge as an example because it's a tier 0 format. But let's talk about tiers for a second, right? Okay, let's go back to tier format. If I Gita it already and then he tries to Gita, I can Call by the Grave it and he can't do anything about it, right? Or I can Call by the Grave his Murray, even though I already used my Murray, which was a will play.
Then I can't Merly next turn.
But it doesn't matter. I already Murrayed.
This turn.
No, I already
And I
Murrayed
did-
before he Murrayed, right?
Yeah, and then I can't Merly next turn either.
But you're already dead. Doesn't matter, right? If you call it okay, if I sprint and send Murray, and then let's say I milled a Gita for some reason on top of like the mills, and he mills a Murray, the Corbett of Grave actually becomes the best card there, right?
Yeah.
Because I already used Murray. It doesn't matter.
I mean, this discussion's
Yeah, but
played out like a
in-
million times, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
In
I feel
this
like Corbett of
exact-
Grave
but-
should be banned
but
a long
in
time
this
ago,
exact
or at free.
scenario- But in
I
this
agree.
exact scenario, was DD Crow not the same thing?
No, it's actually not because
help.
DD Crow literally doesn't stun you for 2 turns. It
But
stops
you're
that one
talking
turn.
about 2 turns, and you're talking about in the mirror, then it's stopping me as well.
No, I'm talking about Corbett of Grave just being a really good card. You can Corbett of
But-
Grave my Warzone and I can't
But the
play.
example that you gave was that I Merlied, then I milled, then they're Merly. Then if I DD Crowd their Merly, it's the same thing. But then if it's called by and you're talking about the persistent effect through the following turn, then I'm also locked out.
Or I could just hold the Corbett of Grave for your DD Crow.
But why would you be playing it in the mirror anyway?
Yeah.
You just
But
set it
that's-
out, right? And like
Yeah.
this card's application isn't inside of the mirror. This card's application mainly stems from the fact that hand traps are so powerful that we need answers to hand traps. That's why this card was printed in the first place,
Yes.
right?
if you
So
code by draw, you can't draw them on their turn.
But then you chain Bell, right? You feel
Ooh.
good about it.
So the main thing is we need cards to stop the powerful cards, because if the powerful cards are too powerful, then they're format warping, which is why we have cards like Call By and Cross Out, right? Now, the main
Correct.
thing is these cards answers. It's similar to Thrust in a way, right? Thrust unlocks, in a sense, Thrust unlocks a new form of deck building where you can go and you can say, this is how I'm going to play my non-engine and this is the way my deck's going to work, right? And you play Thrust for that. Call By is similar, because what you're saying is that I'm going to play reactively to what my opponent is doing. But the card is at 1, which means it's not that defining in the way you're playing it, which is a problem, because this card shouldn't be a staple. It doesn't make sense as a staple. the card's identity and what it's trying to do is trying to stop hand traps. Now, hand traps don't stop every deck, but the decks that can afford to use the staple, it becomes a sacky one-of. It should either be at 3 or it should be at 0. It doesn't make sense in between. It just becomes way too sacky, right?
Do we adjust the ban list entirely presuming that this is the rest of the future forever? Or do we do it adjust to the ban based on what we're currently experiencing?
No, we have free cost outs.
May I
Yeah.
please finish? What we're currently experiencing is a format where hand traps are in an what's the average range of hand traps for most decks at the
12.
if you're playing 12, right?
Yeah.
And we see that range all the way from 12 up to I've seen some decks on 18.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, that's Snake Eyes, right?
Cool. Yeah, and then obviously, so let's say the average is, if we're in a world where the average amount of hand traps is 12, we need to make sure that we as like the game Konami should ensure that we as players have the tools to respond to them. Called by at 1, incredibly sacky feeling. 2, we go into the game knowing that's it. I'd like 3, too much. 2, it's a little bit more tool and a little bit more access we have to counterplay these things. Because right now, how much crossout designate is going on? And yes, people are choosing to play it, and yes, it's a choice. But like, I feel like maybe the entire range, like all of the agency we have to play against these hand traps, is a little bit lacking. And then by putting this to 2, there's a little bit of sack factor taken away. But we do have the tools to work against these hand traps. Look, I'm not saying this is necessarily that my opinion is high and mighty and the be all end all. Like, it's just the thought to put out that the world where called by it is maybe the option.
And I completely understand your point, but I don't agree with it. It's just I played a format with 2 Corbett Grove, and I can tell you right now that isn't the situation.
That format's not this format.
But we gotta talk
what we are currently dealing.
Yeah, and Corbett Grove right now is still a sacky card, dude. Are you kidding me? Like you're telling me right now that Corbett Grove didn't determine the game for you? At one point.
Are you telling me that you've never encountered one hand trap and gone, well, now I can't play?
Yeah, I actually got Corbett Grove.
So then what's
But Corbett Grove enabled that, right?
What?
Corbett Grove stopped the Ash, right?
No. What James is saying is, in the same vein that if Ash just completely ends your turn, Cold Bite can also completely end your turn, or end your interaction, right? There's a similarity in the cards like that, but I think that they do different things, because one is proactive and one is reactive.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it so sacky, right? It's fundamentally the cards do different things, which is why it feels weird where it's like, why would we put Ash to 1? That doesn't make sense. But putting Cold Bite to 1 makes a little bit more sense, because it's reactive, which means there's more variance to it, right? You can say hand traps are reactive, but at this point they are proactive. They're a necessary part to your deck. You need to have interactions. You need to have these kind of things, which makes them proactive. I understand that they only do things in response to things, which makes them reactive, but in a way they're progressing your own game state and they're contributing to your own deck, which is proactive, right? So I think Cold Bite as a card, just fundamentally, like in a vacuum, outside of this format, deserves to be banned at 3. I think in this format it won't move, because there's no real point in changing it right now. The card is not like, holy shit, he Cold Bite me, I just lost the game on the spot. Like, yeah, that happens maybe 50% of the time, but the other 50% of the time, it's like, okay, yeah, I lost my flamberge, or I lost my card, or I lost my Ash, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's that sacky. I think the card will stay at 1, the way it is, but in the future, it should
honestly,
easily
I
be
don't
at 3.
I don't think anything.
Yeah, I just want to ban, honestly, but it probably won't change.
Yeah, most likely.
And we have 3 cost outs. It's a bit different to OCG, right? OCG's got 1 cost and 2 Cold Bite Grove.
2 Cold Bite, yep.
So if we did something like that, I can understand a bit more. But like, it's a bit different.
Yeah,
but
it's a little weird.
It probably won't change. So what's the next card? Aroma Jasmine. Do we think this card needs to get hit?
Jasmine to 1, give me back my trees.
Yeah, I think Jasmine to
Rise to
1's a
3,
good play
heal
for
to
the
3.
future. Like, well, I mean, you're the plant god, Billy, but to my knowledge, like, having the aroma stuff being able to loop multiple Jasmines
Yeah.
Also,
if
like,
you have only one,
Riker-
it makes it like a real choke point, and it makes it so you can't like, oh, you've impimped my Jasmine on either the search or the tribute. Well, I'm going to link it straight into another Jasmine and then resolve the other effect.
And then pretend literally nothing
And
happened.
like in the new aroma lines, you can search 5 times, I think, or 4 times with 3 Jasmines.
It's insane.
So obviously, like cutting that off is pretty good. I think like even in like the regular plant combo, you search 3 times. So 1 is definitely a big difference from 3.
And the
Like,
thing is, even
limited-
with it at 1, they can still push the product, right? Like,
yeah,
it'll still be a
yeah,
good
no,
deck at 1.
no, the aroma stuff sucks, dude. It's trash. It's not real.
Yeah, I mean, even with Riker, like, you only really need 1. I don't.
Yeah,
like,
because
the card is
it
just
bridges the gap.
way
You want 1 to bridge the gap, and you want it to be like an actual floodgate and stuff.
That's
You
it.
want
It
to
should
give
just-
time the flexibility.
Should just
And
bridge
in
that gap.
vein, should bring Dryce and Healer back, because if it'll be at 1, then there's
Nah.
no reason to like
Ban that
have
shit,
Dryce
fuck
and Healer
plants.
still hit.
Nah, just
I
ban it.
love
Just
Dryce
fuck it,
much,
fucking ban
please.
it.
I need my Dryas back.
No, get out of here.
Dryce
Nah,
is the
but-
noob smacking.
I think
card.
this
I
card's
love
going to
his
go on a
combo.
wish list. I'll be honest, I don't really think they need a hitter right now, but
Yeah,
it is a
it's very
future
much who
problem.
cares, I think right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Red Roast Dragon. I think this card can
Base-
come back.
Is not real. This card can come
Yeah,
back.
it's kinda
It'd also be
cares.
really good for the synchron dragon pile deck thing. That would help it a lot. So
I mean, probably they're probably not going to touch it, but that could go to 3 tomorrow. I don't think it changes the game at all.
Yeah.
There's one, Dragon Link player that's like, oh, I get to play the Basil
Well,
Rose shit.
it's not doing anything.
Also,
Yeah.
you get to play with Ib, because this card wasn't out when Ib was.
True, they're out at the same
Actually,
time.
yeah.
Isn't this
That's actually
asshole a
kind of
fire
interesting.
dragon?
Yeah.
What's the temper implications of having red rose? This
Ooh,
no, it's dark. Who cares?
true.
No, nobody
Oh,
cares.
okay,
It's
yeah,
dark.
that's true.
I know black rose and fire.
Alright,
Yep.
Might as well give him to him, mate. Let's talk
Anyway.
about simorgh. I'm pretty sure this card can come back.
Yeah, I mean, Barisachi's ban. Like,
Yep.
getting 1 negate for a Link 3 is whatever. We can do better than that.
Guys, I'm going to out myself here. I don't know what this card does. Let me read it real quick.
Okay, I can
Oh,
save
let
you
me
some
just-
time.
Let me just read it.
You just
Summons
read it. Crazy. Look, the fact that Barrier Statue's banned is whatever. Sure, give them an Apex Avian. Who cares?
Yeah,
I
it's
like
also the fact is you can't target a wing beast under it. So like that's another application where it was banned too. It was just like
Yeah.
you can't imperm it and stuff. But like if you forbidden drop it, it didn't really matter anyway. So I think this
Yeah,
card's
that's
not as
pretty
strong
odd.
as it used to be, but I think it won't change because of the fact that all the Willox cards are basically banned now or unhit. So
Yeah.
it might just stay unchanged, but I think it'd be a fun card to come back, honestly.
I
I
have
don't
now
feel like
read
it's that bad.
Small Bird of Sovereignty. I don't know all the access it has to wing beast things. Like I don't know every single card that's a target. And what it can do, but
Just
you
the blue
guys say
stuff,
that you're not
really.
worried about anything and the barrier statue is not around, then I mean sure, right?
It literally just converts into Apex Avian. There was a point in time where that card was infinite negates because you would set up the double birds, but that deck was never real. You'd set up like the 2 Mist Valley dudes, and when one was bounced, you'd summon one from hand.
Thunderbird, right?
Yeah, Thunderbird.
Mm.
Thunderbird and Apex Avian. But
Yeah.
that deck was only
Oh,
real
yeah.
because of Union Carrier. And the thing was that combo, at that point in time, if you had that much material anyway, I think it was an Adamancipator.
Yeah.
If you had that much material anyway, you were already winning the game, so who really cares? The only thing that really broke with this deck was just the fact that, yeah,
Bird
you
up.
could barrier statue in any single deck you wanted. You just needed to be able to make a Link 3, and you could barrier statue your opponent.
Even fun fact, Dinos was playing this card
Yeah,
for the
you
win
could
barrier
reproduce
statue.
the card, right, it was crazy.
Because the weak Dokers can change the type.
Yeah, it was stupid. Any deck could do it. Tri-Brigade was doing it, every deck. It was crazy.
I mean, Time Brigade makes it natively, to be fair.
Yeah. But they just cheated
But
out.
yeah, he can come back now. He's cool.
No,
Yeah,
I
he's
guess we're down to the last card, guys. I mean, I think this is always a card that's on the topic.
No.
From the Dragon Colossus, can it come back or not? And
I don't
why?
see a reason why not. I mean, it's a walking mistake. That's not fun for anyone. We don't like walking floodgates, but I mean, the card is not that bad. I don't know. Probably come back.
Nah, I hate draw likes, and also he protects himself. It's annoying.
It's really cringe, but it's like people like this card for some reason, so you
But
can
you
have
can
it
just
back.
make SP these days, right? And just kind of shoot
Yeah,
it.
you just kill
It's
it.
like there's options now. I guess. But
Yeah, but like you gotta keep in mind, it's a mistake plus like Thunder Dragon board.
yeah, it is a mistake though. Probably
Yeah.
probably best it stays on the list.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it
think
can
that
come
card.
back. It
I think
can
that
come
card
back.
should take a permanent vacation, like it currently is.
Like, there's nothing really. Like, the card is just so dumb. But
I think-
the thing is, it can come back, and it's fine to come back. We're the only format without it, I think. But I don't know.
You know,
I think it should just stay in the locker room and not come
Yep.
back.
I think it should find the long fix for his short problems. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think he should. What's it called? Suck start his shotgun.
Yeah, this card should not come back. I don't know, like
Yeah,
even during like when it was like a good deck, like with Crusadia and stuff. Like holy crap, man! What a dumb deck that was. You would unbreakable board turn 1. It was one of the best decks to do it as well. Like just so insulated in your combos, really really easy. Like at least like now it would be. Back then, not really. You'd get cooked. I mean, that's why the whole reason why Nibiru was printed was because of that deck. Genuinely, right? The only reason why Nib was in those tins was because of Thunder Dragon. It's just it credits to how crazy that deck is as a combo deck. I don't know. It would
Yeah,
be
I
really
think-
stupid to come back.
Yeah, I generally think Thunder Dragon Colossus. The only reason, honestly, is back in OCG because again they have Maxi and they have like all the different outs to it too, and it's also at 1 for good reason. I don't think they ever want it back at 3. So
Yeah.
like, I don't think that card's healthy in any sort of capacity. I think it's one of those cards that shouldn't come back. Like any card that has like a walking floodgate on it, it's not fun. Like a verse Colossus back in Sky Striker format, it was never fun to verse like triple Colossus. Even if they even had one Colossus, felt really tough at points for decks that search a lot or they add a lot. And yeah, I just feel like the whole point of Yu-Gi-Oh is that like try and add your cards and be consistent. And if a card just telling you not to play like that, it's not healthy. It's really not.
Yeah. Plus, it's a floodgate. Like
It's just a walking
I don't know.
floodgate.
it's gross.
Best not to have that, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think this card's ever coming back. I know the Thunder
It
Dragon
should
people
come
are like,
back.
oh my god, what are you talking about? I want Thunder Dragon Colossus back. No,
I mean, I feel like
not
a lot of
happening.
them don't realize that their deck is completely playable without the card, but they just need a dumb boss monster to like make the deck like justify playing it, which is a
Yeah.
bit annoying. But
When the dragon plays when somebody else plays Nemesis Corridor, huh?
oh man.
Oh well, that is the last card on our prediction ban list, guys. How do we feel about this list as a wrap up?
I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think we need to ban hit change too much. I think there's a couple cards here unlimited because they just can be there. I think there's a couple card touch ups for deck. Maybe there was another voiceless hit that we needed to address. Can't think of what it was, what it would be.
This hierarchy, I
Probably
don't
like
think it
pre-prep.
hurts, whatever.
Oh yeah,
pre-prep.
I did say pre-prep might be the one just because, you know, 2 free cards or like Tiras Hierarchy are banned, but that makes like Diviner not playable, right?
So I think pre-prep being like hit.
Depends.
But I think it's a bit too early to hit that. I think they would hit that later on when the new ones come out, and if that deck becomes really top tier.
Yeah.
Um,
Something outside of Engine because they're getting more support, right?
yeah. So I don't think they hit voices right now. I think that's like a future problem. But that's definitely a card to be looking out for.
Sorry, something out of Arc, not it. But yeah.
All right, guys. That's awesome. Thank you for the time, guys, for making. This is probably, I think it's like 3 hours. This one, so that's a big.
one.
It's a big video, but we will put it in chapters. And thank you guys for watching, honestly. Thank you, James, for blasting our ears. That you don't need to do that. Thank you. Thank you guys for the time. As usual, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys will see you on the next video. Peace.
Bye bye.
Any subscriber?